Consequence Podcast Network.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome yet again to the Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast. We are in our second week of our Needful Things coverage. Last week we got a little bit, I guess you could say we're digging a little deep. We're getting deep into the themes, deep into the ideas, the characters, kind of the fabric of Needful Things. Now we're going to get more into the text of Needful Things. We're going to be talking about our favorite bits, the scariest bits, and let's just say the bits that maybe didn't work so well.
The bits that King likes to talk about?
Yes,
oh, yeah.
The dirty bits.
You might say we're going into the basement of Needful Things, the store.
That's a good way to put it. My name is Rockin' Randall T. Nelson Colburn.
Oh, you go to a lot of creepy parties and with your friend.
I guess I didn't think about the implications
Jewett,
of that one.
I don't know if you want that nickname.
I just like the boldness of the last, the T. Nelson.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, it has the Craig T. Nelson vibe.
It does.
I wanted to be Coach.
I just watched Poltergeist remake that doesn't star Craig T. Nelson,
and it hurts for that.
It does hurt for that. Yeah, I was like, "Where's Coach?"
And who are you?
This is Michael Ace Merrill Rothman.
Nice.
Changing it up from Sheriff Pangborn the previous week. So
really changing it up.
Really
polar opposite.
Polar opposites. You know, we're the doppelganger, if you will. So feeling good here in this sunny living room.
We're
nice
ready.
Day. It's 51 degrees
good
in Chicago. Mac, how do you feel? You feel a little bit better this week.
I feel good. So good that my name is Mackenzie Mommy the Trees Gerber.
That's so awful, Mac. So awful.
It was either that or Mackenzie the Magical Spring Snake.
Oh, gosh.
Like
which
that
is also a good name.
Lots
but
of connotations. Lots of pound cake connotations.
You know, I looked for M words, okay, and I saw Mommy, and I went with it. I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm so happy. It's 51, and the sun's finally out. It's been elusive this entire week, and it's been great. Some great days here. And,
I've been in New York all week, so I wouldn't know.
I know.
Oh,
Did you go to any of those delis, or did you get a bagel? Did you get some pizza?
I had some of the local New York cuisine, and I also looked in bookstores for Stephen King books.
Oh, did you find any?
Nah.
No Stephen King.
Nothing of note. If I did, I would have posted it.
New York has no Stephen King.
I think they've excised him from the city. It's why he doesn't set stories.
Did you go to Calvin Towers bookstore? That's a Dark Tower reference. But we're not alone here.
No. We have a friend in Missouri joining us.
Yes.
Who is it?
This is Mel Poison Bullet Castle.
Oh, nice.
I have abandoned alliteration. I just go with whatever strikes my fancy these days. It is also really warm here, but I haven't been outside yet. I'll go outside later. Promise.
Okay.
It's a nice...
We'll hold you to that.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that you post photos on Instagram.
Of you in the sun.
Yeah.
I need that vitamin D.
I think it's actually warm enough here where you could actually lay down on the grass. No, maybe I'm overshooting.
I think you're
I think that's a gross
Yeah.
So we're here for our second part of Needful Things. If you are listening to this without having listened to the first one, that's weird. Go back and listen to it. But we talked about the hook. We talked about the structure. We talked about characters. We
took a town census, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, we went down through that whole massive character list. So that's some good stuff. Now we're going to get a little bit more granular, and we're going to talk about the stuff that delighted and amused us, and also made us shake our fists in anger. So let's start as maybe in a way that Annie Wilkes would prefer, with a little bit of misery.
We got there.
Wow. She died. She just slipped away.
Slipped away! Slipped away! She didn't just slip away! You did it! 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 You murdered my misery!
Annie!
Is there maybe there's like a larger overarching thing that you found really obnoxious here?
Yeah.
What did you have?
So I actually didn't have any notes per se for Misery. I didn't have any specifics. I just mostly thought, and we've already discussed this in the previous episode, but I just thought the ending was a little bit of a letdown. Like when people talk about King kind of having a letdown ending, this kind of felt like one to me. It didn't ruin the book for me,
right?
Because as they say, it's the journey. But it just felt very like he gets to this climactic moment and didn't really know what to do, and just was like, well, what are they doing? Something wicked that this way comes. Let's kind of do that,
Yeah. What did you feel similarly, Mac, regarding the
podcast?
Ending?
But
No, I have been really looking forward to this book for a long time, but I have heard from my brother that he didn't really love the ending, and he said he kept mentioning the last 12 pages, and I was like, how can the last 12 pages like derail you so much so that you don't like? Not granted, he likes the book, but I was really like looking forward to the ending to see like if I was going to feel the same way, because I don't always side with my bro, and it just didn't. I mean, I guess it's not really an overarching thing. It's really specific. I didn't really love the ending, but it did not derail it enough for me to knock the book too hard.
Yeah. Like I'm not like it was like there have definitely been endings.
A few key things that just didn't land for me quite right.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm gonna defend the ending.
Oh,
I'm gonna say. Well, I'll say this.
What's that can of snake or a can of nuts that you have in your hand right now?
Can of snake.
Can of snake. I love that. That's my favorite magic shop
Can of
trick.
snake and eye of newt.
No, I think for me, I think the magic doesn't quite work.
Yeah, that's my big issue.
The whole time, right?
Wait, what?
The whole book.
Yeah.
It feels so weird and out of place.
I just feel, for me personally, that I like the imagery of the ending at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love sort of the image of this can of nuts, like this bright white light coming out of it and a snake coming out and biting Gaunt. I think it's really vividly
You love
written.
that dwarf on top of the carriage.
I was literally
Can't
about
get
to bring it
over
up. I was going to bring it up, and that is Leland Gaunt, by the way.
Oh, you
No, I'm just asserting.
Look at
it.
he's so serious.
I'm
He
just
knows.
asserting it.
I just still love the image of I just like the idea that he has this little gnome that exists in some other world and waits until Leland has to leave.
No, he is the gnome.
And he's just like wiping down. But
All
just
I
imagine
can
this
see-
gnome
all
is
I'm
just
picturing-
cleaning this
Randall's like, that's
carriage.
canon.
All
That's
I'm picturing
canon.
is
No.
Warwick Davis's like Goblin from Harry Potter, just like,
That's how I pictured him.
like the really sharp teeth, just like kind of like, okay, I guess I'll. Oh, you know what it is?
Is it Beetlejuice?
No.
Oh.
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe cartoon. You
Oh,
ever watched that
yes,
as a kid.
yeah.
It's like the gnome that is like in charge of the white witch's carriage.
I could see that. Yeah.
That's really really specific.
It also
But that's
reminded
what
me of
I'm
the ending
picturing.
of Witches of Eastwick, where Jack Nicholson just becomes smaller and smaller. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the George Miller classic.
spoilerific.
But that it reminded me of
Spoiler
that.
alert, he does get quite small.
He does. And that's how if he is indeed Leland Gaunt, then you're just seeing this, beacon of quote unquote evil becoming this little like pipsqueak,
No, height, like size does not determine how evil. You can be small and evil.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to assert that.
Speaking of which, if you guys can hear my cat, I'm sorry. He's meowing at me. He's small and evil.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
I look at Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
that's true.
Rumpel-
Yeah, that,
My cat
that's
is
true.
the gnome that drives the carriage.
Rumpelstiltskin is pretty evil.
He's pretty mean, and he's
pretty
a little
mean.
guy.
Rumpelstiltskin's got some moves.
No, I'll say this. Beetlejuice, when Beetlejuice is going to get married to Winona Ryder at the end of the movie.
Oh, that thing.
And
Oh,
there's
the
that
priest.
little imp priest.
Yeah.
That's who I always pictured driving the carriage.
Oh, I could see that.
And that's
Yeah.
the real Leland Gaunt.
Okay.
I
Okay.
You all disagree
I like to
with
think
me?
there's a realm
You
where
think
you
this
are
is just
right.
his paid employee?
I don't
can't
think he's
tell if you're a
paid.
troll
I
right
think
now.
he's a
I'm half and
slave.
half
What if,
now.
all right, let's just imagine that King is sitting there. The publisher is like, look, Stephen, give us this book. We've already built it as the final Cast Rock book. Your readers are demanding it. Give us this book. And he's like, I got 12 more pages to write. And he's like, all right, well, end of the week. You have till the end of the week. And he's watching like Freeform, which I don't think
Freeform.
existed in 1990. But he's watching that, and like Beetlejuice is on. And he sees that little guy at the end. And he
Because
writes,
that guy's cool.
That guy's Leland Gaunt.
No, I think he was getting pressure from his publisher, and he turned. He said, "All right, you know what? Gaunt's an imp. Done. Here you go."
Like, oh, is that you like that ending? Huh? You like it?
You haven't listened to the first episode. This is even more insufferable.
Yeah.
You have.
I would hope they have, and I hope they're on board for this great bit, which I promise will not get brought up for the rest of the episode.
We are absolutely going to be sharing photos of this little fit guy from Beetlejuice.
Well, Mel, do you not agree? Was this not
image.
Mel? Was this not your misery for? What was it? Our talking about this? Your misery for the book?
That's always my misery, Mac. That's my perpetual misery. My actual overarching misery. Which, there's just so much material that it doesn't feel worth it to actually delve into the book itself, was his treatment of Myra and Cora.
It's on mine too.
It was like he decided to go totally lean into this thing that we've talked about so much, which is just that he loves to talk about overweight women and how disgusting they are. And it was like just a little thing that we visited periodically. There was a great moment on 568 of my first edition where it talks about Myra's belly that had been swelled by ringdings, which I just think he thinks is particular Stephen King music. He's like, oh, I can really fucking let go and just talk about how fat these women are.
Jeez.
Yeah, like on page 70, the door had barely shut behind them when it opened again. Cora Rusk and Myra Evans strode in. They looked around, eyes as bright and avid as those of squirrels in nut-gathering season, and went immediately to the glass case containing the picture of Elvis. Cora and Myra bent over, cooing with interest, displaying bottoms which were easily 2 axe handles wide.
Axe handles.
But it's like...
Common metric.
I guess for me, and this is a running theme, we've talked about this in other episodes, but there is always this sense in a lot of King books where all the heroes are like really hot and hunky, and like he talks about like how hot Polly is like all the time.
Yeah,
and
like who's a heavy set protagonist that isn't like
the guy
that
from
isn't
Thinner?
pretty?
Wait, what?
Well, Myra does get a moment where she is beautiful because she is determined, although he just uses it to put her in contrast with her older pig-like self.
Yeah, and I guess it's
that
like,
moment was so gross for me, like 420. Although she didn't know it and wouldn't have believed it if told, she had achieved a momentary beauty in the rural stillness. Her vague, unthoughtful face had filled, at least during these moments, with a deep purpose and determination which had never been there before. Her cheekbones were clearly defined for the first time since high school, when she had decided her mission in life was to eat every yodel and ding-dong and hoodsy rocket in the world.
Ooh, God,
during
I
the
love
last
that.
4 days or so, she had been much too busy having progressively weirder and weirder sex with the king to think much about eating.
Do you think she was like George Costanza-ing it, like having like these like masturbation sessions, and then like rolling over and like grabbing
Eating
a
a
ring
sandwich?
thing? Yeah, and just eating like
It's
a
also
sandwich or
so
something.
ridiculous. It's been 4 days. Like, you don't just like she's like
Hey,
a completely different
it's the
person.
king. It's the king.
it's the king. No, it's like this is just a thing in King though where he portrays overweight people oftentimes as doofuses.
Yeah.
And like the way, and like the first time that Gaunt is like mean to someone, like I think he calls Hugh Priest like a dummy or something like that. But then he like makes Myra get down on her knees and like say, "Give me a blowjob," or something like that, which is just really bizarre.
It's really
and he like
unsettling.
totally berates her and treats her like garbage, where it's like, I mean, there is just, I don't think it's like an intentionally malicious thing on King's part, but he just does tend to portray people who are overweight as grotesque and as total doofuses.
Here's an honest question, and I'm not trying to make a bit or anything here. Do you think King has body dysmorphia though? Because if you think about it, like he started out, he was heavy. You know, he started getting a little thinner in the 80s. Had gained a little bit back, but then lost all of it ever since his car accident. And he's kept the weight off since then. But I do wonder if it's a recurring element.
He wrote a
in
whole
his
book about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, but I think his portrayal of fatness is so often tied to his portrayal of women that I don't like. I think this is something he's trying to totally alienate from any vision of himself. It doesn't strike me as something that's connected to a personal.
Yeah, I will say mostly it is in the depiction of women that we pick up on this a lot more, I feel, over the course of the books. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he hasn't done it with men, but he has definitely done it with women a lot.
Yeah, because I mean, think about
Otherwise, we wouldn't have Poundcake half the time.
Well,
Oh,
and
that's
when he
true.
talks
Yeah.
about it with men, it is always this sort of relatable, like, God, where did this beer belly come from? Like, I got to get in shape. But when he talks about it with women, it's like, look at this figure of disgust and revulsion.
And then also, if you think about it, like there isn't really any strong, like good-natured protagonists, especially women that are overweight in his books.
In
Like
any
Ralph
books.
Brentner is the only one I can think of, and even then, he's not. It's not like he's like morbidly obese or something.
Is he
like that.
described
He gets
as that
crucified.
in the book, or are you just thinking of the actor who
I'm
played
thinking
him
of
in
the
the
actor in the movie, but
But also, even when a character like Harold, like he literally has to become skinny
yes,
in correlation with his redemption.
but that's what I'm
Right.
saying. That's why I
Yeah.
wonder if he does have some sort of. I mean, I don't know.
You know,
I'm-
He just doesn't like fat people.
You never know.
Well, there. I mean, if you look back in like ancient, history, the idea, like, I'm just saying, like, literary wise, like as a device, like, there's like, you try to use it as like a gluttonous thing, I guess, to say like, oh, these are like usually the people that he does describe as, overweight and or even portly are those that have gluttonous natures to them. Like they are. Corpulent in ways that are distasteful, like they have like a greed or a lust or some sort of defining characteristic that would fit into those sort of verticals. So I think honestly it's just him just doing caricatures. Like it's just easier for him to kind of convey the point that he's trying to get.
It totally is. And I teach the segment of every semester when I teach literature, I open with the segment of Danse Macabre where he talks about what is a monster, and he has several definitions of monstrosity, but he spends a similar amount of time and effort on a depiction of fat people that like becomes hypnotically, like he falls for his own game. Like he starts describing them and being like, we should really pick apart why we think obese people are monstrous, and then he's like, God, they are though, right? Like let's think about it. Like one time I saw this guy get stuck in a revolving door and it was like a freak show, and you're like, Jesus, Steven. Like, you can't even hold back in your nonfiction about like how much you are helplessly drawn towards and repulsed by overweight people. Like I really think it's one of his most reliable and incurable blind spots that is starting to like really grate on me.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to think if he does it, because I've read The Institute and I've read The Outsider and Mr. Mercedes and all that, and I'm trying to think if he pulls any of those tricks in those later books, but I don't remember.
no, the only thing I can remember is Big Jim Rennie, and
but I don't know. That suits that character.
it does, yeah,
because he is like such a symbol of excess and like eat everything in sight, like monstrousness. Yeah. No, I think these are themes that we've touched on previously, and we'll probably touch on again.
Yeah,
but
I
they're
think going
just
back
really,
to like Carrie, even.
Yeah, totally. They're just really present in this book. Other bits of misery that you guys can recall. I personally, this one I wrote down as misery, but then I said, "Is it though?" because it made me laugh. It's when Buster Keaton on page 258 of the what is this pocketbooks fiction. I just thought this was funny because it's so childlike. Buster Keaton, he's screaming about they, and then he says he slammed the letter down on top of the others. He closed the file. Typed neatly on the tab was correspondent, Maine Bureau of Taxation. Keaton stared at the closed file for a moment. Then he snatched the pen from its holder and slashed the words Maine Bureau of Caca across the file in large trembling letters. He stared at it a moment and then wrote Maine Bureau of Assholes below it. It was just, to me, like, at first I read it and I was just like, why is this 50-year-old man writing caca like in big letters on a
It's
file?
also K-A-K-A. Like, is that? I don't know. I had that in Poundcake.
Yeah, I that was a bit of misery for me. Was there's a lot of instances where when the people are like under Gaunt's spell, some of the things they say and some of their like irate, rants feel so dated. And this is a book written in the 1990s, and it's supposed to take place around the 1990s. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
You never get the feeling that it's like the
'cause Twin Peaks is
50s
on.
or the 40s,
Yeah.
But and I'm like, maybe this is a regional thing, but like the way people talk, like that young woman is calling what's her name a chippy and stuff like that. I don't think it doesn't feel. It feels weird. It feels out of place.
You know what? We kind of brushed upon this last week, but I really do think a lot of this was influenced by the runoff of 50s nostalgia that was happening in the 80s. Actually, it was kind of a latent thing that was coming from the late 70s also because of the Happy Days and everything. But
Yeah.
I think like if you look back at that era, like this is like, when John Waters was taking off huge, with his kind of 50s aesthetic and the kind of campiness there. David Lynch's Blue Velvet with Twin Peaks, which they reference in here. I just think that a lot of that might be influencing him as making like this kind of small town kooky vibe that was so like in vogue at the time.
It also rings to me of something we talked about last time, which is that Leland Gaunt himself like does this gleeful slide into like antiquated trashiness very easily in a way that's almost like off-putting, and you're like, did he write caca because like he just doesn't know the modern slang, or like what would someone actually put on this slip of paper?
Oh, totally.
Which to me is like this funny childish part of Leland Gaunt. Or in that same section though, and I mean I guess I could go, there are a couple of things concerning women that I didn't like, but it goes back to that narratorial problem of like, are we in someone's head, or are we being privy to this omniscient narrator? When Keaton is looking at all these pink slips on 273 of the Viking, what would he think of that word embezzlement screaming off the pink violation slips again and again, screaming like a woman being raped in the middle of the night? Is like such a gross comparison to make. But I also hesitated to bring it up because it's like, well, of course Keaton would equate like this stupid, like non-consequential thing to the most awful consequential thing. Like, is that Keaton having this thought and we're supposed to hate him for having it? Or is it King like delighting in, more awfulness? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and that is,
I didn't like it.
The lines do get blurry sometimes and I feel like that's something that maybe got a little messier at this stage in his career, because early on I felt like it was always really clear when he was narrating and when the character was sort of the one who was molding the description. So whereas here it does come in and out, and it points to the whole idea with like structure and stuff in format that we talked about last week, which is when he'll suddenly burst into, in the middle of a book, first person, as the narrator.
Yeah.
Which he
I
gets
will say
excited.
there is a point at which I know it is King, which is 145 when we're talking about Pete and Wilma. He took 5 or 6 Xanax pills a month, most of them on the days before Wilma started her period.
Oh boy.
Just like, it's really funny to me that King still does not know how menstrual cycles work. And like, it becomes so evident in much of his fiction that it by now is cute, but it's just a little throwaway.
And I think some of the, I don't know, some of the antiquated language and things like that might also be interwoven with the satire and the fact that he wanted this to be funnier. Because, like, I don't know, there was one moment of comedy that I thought was so bizarre, and I put it in Misery, even though it made me laugh, but I think it was just the absurdity of it. And it's near the end. It's page 790 of Pocketbooks. It's when Eddie Warbutton and Sonny Jacket like confront each other in the gas station.
Yeah.
And they're like shooting each other. And then when Eddie realizes he shot like an employee named Ricky and not Sonny, he goes, "Ah shit," Eddie screamed, "I shot the wrong fucking honky."
Yeah, like,
and then Sonny just shows up and goes, "Hello, Eddie. Good thing for me I was in the shit house, wasn't it?" It's like so
it's so
but I kind of
B movie.
I know it's so B movie, but I feel like it was intentional and he was trying to be funny there, and be kind of, I don't know, dramatic in a satirical way. But to me, it's like, it just felt so glaring and weird and like such a cartoony kind of moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know, but I shot the wrong fucking honky.
Which is like,
King's satire is so close to King kind of like having fun.
Yes.
It's really hard to differentiate the two.
and it's a pretty severe scene too. So like tonally, that's a kind of a weird scene, because that's like when you actually get the sense that people can kind of jump out of, like, it's almost like a Temple of Doom when like Short Round burns Indy and he's like, oh, and he like comes to, like, he does come to in this scene and realizes like, oh shit, like we are being played and then it's too late. But it's like it's played out like a fucking Dolomite movie that like you can't even like really get the stakes that are there in that moment, and that's kind of a problem with some of the scenes in this book.
Yeah, I appreciate your Temple of Doom reference.
Yeah.
But speaking of shooting, another thing that did not land for me was why are the bullets poison?
Oh my god, that was so fucking ridiculous.
Do they need to
I
be
have that on
poison
here
bullets?
too. It was
like
so
that is so
stupid.
it's like,
yeah,
it's enough these people are blowing each other away, or they're shooting each other enough where they're probably not going to survive. And if they survive, they're going to have some real serious problems.
Yeah.
We don't need to have the bullets be poison.
No.
That's where it
Such a
starts to
ridiculous
get
call from the ambulance.
Yeah, and it's just it starts to get yeah, that is a great ridiculous scene when they're talking about that. And I just felt like that is kind of the turning point where it starts to get a little bit too convoluted.
Yeah.
And then when the magic stuff happens, and I don't care that he's been doing magic from, page 1 of the book or whatever, it just feels so weird.
It feels wrenched in. Like
it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for me. That he would just know that the snake would be the thing that would. He doesn't even know. He just instinctually just throws the can of beans or whatever the fuck it is at Gaunt, and then the snake becomes real.
Beans.
Open a can of beans like you would a can of nuts.
Well, I don't think you're throwing a can of nuts at anyone either. You know what I mean?
It almost seems like it's a scene from Detective Pikachu, where they're just throwing.
Yeah,
it's a Pokemon.
Yeah,
it's a Pokemon. It's
convoluted plot aside,
the
the effects in that movie are really great, and it just reminded me of when he throws the thing and the dragon comes out. It seems like we're watching one of the characters' names that's not Ash throws the Pokeball, and this thing comes out, and the dragon flows around and stuff. That's what it reminded me of.
But and another thing is
Pokecast.
Just some of the dialogue at the end doesn't really.
You guys joke. I would go on Pokecast in a New York.
Some of the dialogue doesn't really make it. Just doesn't feel right. When. I don't care how magic themed it gets at the end, but when Pangborn yells out "Abracadabra, you lying fuck," that it feels like he's too.
King.
He feels too
Latter-day King.
and he feels too prepared for the moment when he didn't even know any of this was going to work in this way. Do you know what I mean? So it's it just
imagine if Johnny Smith in
weird.
the Dead Zone yelled "Wham Bam" before he shot.
Wham Bam.
Sarah, I love you.
And it's strange because the magic angle, I said this last episode, where in Tommyknockers I felt like they used magic in a really creepy, really unsettling way when the boy is sent to the other the planet or whatever, and that is really unnerving because you don't understand. The kid obviously doesn't understand the logic of what's actually happening. But here it's just kind of, it is a little Something Wicked This Way Comes.
But they had set that up in Something Wicked This Way Comes because there's been all these great meditations on magic and the value of good and evil.
How serious are we supposed to take this? In the same way that he wants the town to be a satire and the conflict to be a satire, do we think there could be an inkling of that in how neatly it is wrapped up? In his all of a sudden they are standing for much more than themselves, and this side is the black and this side is the white. And
I think there's a little of that, but I also think it really comes, you said it last week, Reno. It's I think he just needed to come up with an ending, and it really screams that way. The fact that he literally reuses the ending for the stand is kind of crazy to me. Yeah, I mean, when they did the epilogue, it's you didn't even have to read it to know exactly what was going to happen, and it's that's literally the fucking epilogue for the stand, and it's just, I don't know, it seems a little lazy to me.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Mel. I think that is what's going on, but I think that's where the book fails a little bit because I feel like in his efforts to make it a satire, the book's so long that there are lots of moments where it just, for me, it strays from that and becomes very grim and real. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like it's just a satire anymore. And I think that's the
and
failure.
That's on purpose too.
Yeah. So it's
it's total inconsistency of tone.
Right.
I actually really appreciate the ending of the movie. Over this,
no, I haven't seen the movie.
I
yet.
know, but you've heard the.
I don't know the ending.
Okay, well, basically,
so
if you've heard Needful Tweets, though, you've heard at least one or two lines from it.
Oh yeah,
and it gets very Capra-esque, and it's actually. But the thing is that those Capra-esque elements would have worked in this book, because this whole idea of unity and let's stop the outrage and all that. Great, I would have. Actually, that a little bit more.
Don't
you see what he's done? like that for me would have made more sense than whoosh, whoosh, my dead kid.
Look,
so
and a snake.
You know, the Coming of the White.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, and why don't we just throw Roland and Eddie to pop up also?
That would have been funny.
he's just gotten, I don't know, I'm going back to the abracadabra you fuck, because it's so inauthentic and it's so cinematic, you know? And I feel like this is where maybe all of his work in Hollywood was starting to, and like, I mean, Needful Things reads very cinematically.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Like, we talked about that last week with, you know, when Ace arrives in town, it literally feels like a screenplay description.
It's
you
like
know?
when Josh Harnett appears in The Faculty.
Yes. God damn.
He drives in, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
I was
I know.
thinking of the Hitch here, but like,
Yeah.
No, because he just has, like, I'm thinking of one in desperation. I won't spoil, like, what happens, but there's, like, you know, there's a monster, like, talking to a guy and saying, "You suck, you've always sucked," or something. And then he goes, "God, forgive me, I hate critics." And then he, like, does the climactic move. And, like, I have always hated that because it's so inauthentic and so lame. And it just...
climactic one-liner, they so rarely land.
I know. And, like, you just think about, like, what if they did that in, like, his older novels, you know? Like, I feel like in Salem's Lot, like, before he's just like, you know, "Take this to heart," and then he stabs him. Like,
But you can also picture Stephen King writing and being like, I mean, this is perfect. Like, what else could he possibly say at this moment? It's so fucking badass. Abracadabra, you lying fuck.
Like if Lewis went to like Gage, just like, "Dig this."
Yeah. God.
I will
like, hits him with a
say,
shovel.
I can see Ed Harris saying that and selling the line.
Oh, Ed Harris could sell any.
I could
anything.
see him doing that, but you know what?
Well, I prefer.
don't think we're gonna
don't
get
you
that,
see what
though.
he's done?
I will go. Look, we're gonna be talking about the movie soon, but
Yeah.
it's one of Ed Harris's best performances.
Oh,
I'd
that's
say.
That
great.
is a
I'm
bold
excited.
statement.
It is so he's so good in this movie. I just love when he fucking freaks out throughout the whole movie. It's like, "Everyone has lost their mind." Like he sounds like fucking insane, and like I can't imagine how much cocaine he did in this movie.
Billy's
I mean, the
selling
Abyss.
it. Sounds
The Abyss
great.
is great. The Abyss
Now,
is
what-
top
no,
Harris. but-
Really quickly, not to derail
You
too
bitch,
much.
you've never given up on anything in
When
your
we
life.
when we did what was that? What was that episode? Was that a
It was
Club
one of the
episode?
Needful. It was one where we were.
We did the entire sequence from the Abyss.
Yes, instead of Needful Tweets. We were like, "Take it away, Ed Harris," and then I just, because I didn't want to look up the trailer and make
It's
the
like a
soundbite, I just
3-minute
threw the
scene.
thing. Oh yeah, the whole thing.
where he's trying to
yeah.
revive her.
God.
And
that's
I
so
wanted to
funny.
see what, and you know, some listeners appreciate it, and they tweeted about it, and it was a great bit. And somewhere
more
in
probably
there, I have
didn't
no idea.
appreciate it.
I know.
There are a lot of people that probably hated it. Like the Full House music.
The Abyss people in dark cloaks are going to come after us.
Yeah.
for using that.
Before we move on from
Misery.
Misery, I have to reiterate my hate for Lester Pratt's like 50s ish horniness. Page 546. "Rudy Toot Toot," cried Lester Pratt enthusiastically. "Sweet little Sally in her birthday suit." And I just think of like a 30-year-old man saying this.
He's
and it's
Andy
very
from
funny.
The Office.
He's not a 30-year-old man. He is solid, hawk, and a coin.
And then later, he's imagining sleeping with her, and he's like, "Those lovely, sleepy, cornflower blue eyes opening wide, and by the time the clock struck 10, they would be virgins no longer." Rudy Toot.
Rudy Toot
Rudy Toot. And on that, I mean, speaking of great writing, I think it's time for us to move on to our next section, Word Processor of the Gods.
And we're gonna make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. Whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here, when I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
Welcome to Word Processor of the Gods. This is a section where we actually talk about the good writing. The stuff that we thought was really lovely or striking or interesting.
It's the good place.
We are in the good place, which just ended. Not for me, though. Not a fan.
Just putting that out there.
Good place cast.
Yeah. No bonus episodes in that one with us. I have one on 363. I thought that there's little segments. I don't actually have a lot of word processor here, but little things that I love that stepped away from the natural settings, which is usually what I kind of point out with. If you go back and you collected every one of my pieces of word processor, it would just be King talking about like leaves or like
It's
the
true.
wind.
It's always like a man stepping out of a diner looking at the sky.
So this one is just more of like an actual observation I really appreciated. 363 on Big Book, Gallery Books edition. Polly had a slightly deviated septum, and now she began to snore lightly, a sound Alan actually found rather pleasant. It was good to be sharing a bed with another person, a real person who made real sounds, and sometimes filched the covers. He grinned in the dark. I just love that little moment. It just kind of captures their relationship a little bit, and also captures the joy of a relationship.
It totally worked on me because I can't stand snoring. So I was like, wow, if he really still loves her, these kids have got to make it work.
Yeah, I've had some people over that have snored really bad, and I've had
Did you hurt them?
I wanted to. It was not charming at all, and it was literally like a Carpenter movie because I was putting stuff under the door, and we were crying, and I was taking Benadryl, and I was like, why won't he stop?
It's like the person that's snoring comes to the door, and it's like Midsummer.
Yeah, exactly.
It removes the things.
Snoring is awful though because it's like they don't realize the amount of pain they're inflicting.
Yeah.
It's like a passive attack.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a roommate who snored, and we used to try to throw things in his general direction, but not hit him because we didn't want to wake him up. So we were like, we need to cause like light movements around him to get him to shift. So we would very carefully like throw pillows in his direction and stuff. And sometimes it would work, and sometimes it wouldn't. So I want to read a bit really early on, page 35. And this, I think, resonates for me because I used to be super religious, and I used to sort of believe in some of the more fantastical Bible stories. And but I think what resonated with me was like Jonah and the whale, right? Like you could believe that it didn't actually happen, but also consider the magnificence of the idea if it did happen. And I kind of love the splinter of wood from Noah's Ark, right? Yeah. Because it feels like a tangible relic from a very a story that is very likely not true, but more of an allegory, a biblical allegory or something. So it's like, but I love the way it's described, and it does have a little magic to it. So when Brian is holding it right at the beginning, I just love this description. So he had a vague sensation of movement, a corkscrewing kind of movement, a sound quick and light, thud, 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 thud. He knew that sound. It was a boat, he cried, delighted without opening his eyes. I feel like I'm on a boat. Do you indeed, Mr. Gaunt said. And to Brian's ears, he sounded impossibly distant. The sensations intensified. Now he felt as if he were going up and down across long, slow waves. He could hear the distant cry of birds, and closer the sound of many animals. Cows lowing, roosters crowing, the low snarling cry of a very big cat. Not a sound of rage, but an expression of boredom. In that 1 second, he could almost feel wood, the wood of which this splinter had once been a part, he was sure, under his feet, and knew that the feet themselves were not wearing Converse sneakers, but some sort of sandals. And then it was going, dwindling to a tiny bright point, like the light of a TV screen when the power cuts out, and then it was gone. I just love that because it captures sort of it takes the mythic and it's magical in the way it sort of manifests, and it to me really, you can see then later why Sally is so obsessed with it. And I don't know, so that's a moment that really resonated with me, but I think it did because I know what it's like to have that sort of hopeful belief in a magical kind of story.
And it's one of the most magical ones. It's one of the most unbelievable ones to put two of every animal on a boat, but then for King to give it this sort of immediacy of like, you hear this, you smell this, is just like the most tempting thing.
Temptatious.
For a believer, I think, is that kind of like immersion in a story that is one of the most fantastic in the Bible.
Yeah. What else do you guys have?
I talked about this last time, but on page 73 of the Viking edition, it is Hugh Priest, and he sees the foxtail, and he remembers going around in a convertible. And it says, the memory surprised and hurt him in its clarity and total sensory recall. Smoky aroma of burning leaves, November sun twinkling on guardrail reflectors. And now, looking at the foxtail in the display window of Needful Things, it struck him that it had been the best day of his life, one of the last days before the booze had caught him firmly in its rubbery, pliant grip, turning him into a weird variation of King Midas. Everything he had touched since then, it seemed, had turned to shit. He suddenly thought, I could change. This idea had its own arresting clarity. And a little bit further down the page, for a moment the possibility stunned and excited him the way a long-term prisoner might be stunned and excited by the sight of the key left in the lock of his jail cell by a careless warder. For a moment he could actually see himself doing it, picking up a white chip, then a red chip, then a blue chip, getting sober day by day and month by month. No more Mellow Tiger, too bad, but also no more paydays spent in terror that he would find a pink slip in his envelope along with his check. And that was not so too bad. In that moment, as he stood looking at the foxtail in the display window of Needful Things, Hugh could see a future. For the first time in years, he could see a future, and that beautiful orange fox brush with its white tip floated through it like a battle flag. I was so arrested by this moment because I loved that his temptation was a good one. It was something that we would all want for him and that he deep down wants for himself. And it's so sad.
Yeah, this is in my word processor as well. And I talked a little bit last week about how I feel like King, whereas some characters are caricatures, like we talked about earlier. And I feel like in some ways, Hugh kind of becomes a caricature later in the book. But for these early scenes of him, I think are really lovely. And also it's clearly King drawing on his own recovery process and like maybe what he struggled with when he was at the height of his alcoholism. I feel like it's just a really humanizing moment. And something that we don't get for a lot of these small town characters, you know?
Yeah. So. And I think that description of like the sudden surprise and clarity of as if a warder has like left the key to your cell in your cell is like applicable to so many situations where you're just like, shit, like, you know, I could just do something totally different. And it's such a something that seems like it comes out of left field, but is also completely interior in a way that, I don't know. It was a good moment where he gave a metaphor that resonated for me.
Yeah. I agree. Any others?
Do you have one?
No, I don't really have too many because I felt like there wasn't a lot of moments, like meditative moments. I mean, I guess I could have done what you did, Mel, where you jumped around a little bit on that same page, but you know, I mean, there's some cool cinematic lines, but like here and there. But for me, I didn't really grab a lot of sections.
I liked a lot of King's own intuition in here, and I always try to gravitate towards the sections where you can tell he's speaking from some sort of truth that he's experienced himself. Someone who's definitely trying to quit cigarettes. The sequence where Pangborn goes to the morgue and has a cigarette for the first time. Like I thought the sections where we've known that like King was a cigarette smoker also, so he knows from personal experience, and that personal experience really bleeds out in these words on page 335 on the Gallery Books edition. The first puff made his head feel swimmy. He had been trying to quit for almost 2 years and kept almost making it. Then something would come up. That was both the curse and the blessing of police work. Something always came up. He looked up at the stars, which he usually found calming, and couldn't see many. The high-intensity lights which ringed the hospital dulled them out. He could make out the Big Dipper, Orion, and a faint reddish point that was probably Mars, but that was all. Mars, he thought. That's it. That's undoubtedly it. The warlords of Mars landed in Castle Rock around noon, and the first people they met were Nettie and the Jurassic bitch. The warlords bit them and turned them rabid. It's the only thing that fits. He thought about going in and telling Henry Ryan, the state of Maine's chief medical examiner, it was a case of alien intervention. Doc case closed. He doubted if Ryan would be amused. It had been a long night for him, too. Alan dragged deeply on the cigarette. It tasted absolutely grand, swimmy head or no swimmy head, and he felt he could understand perfectly why smoking was now off limits in the public areas of every hospital in America. John Calvin had been dead right. Nothing that made you feel this way could possibly be good for you. In the meantime, though, hit me with that nicotine, boss. It feels so fine. And that is literally the crux of trying to quit smoking. It is just every time you have a chaotic moment, you're like, all right, well, this warrants it, so let's have it. And that swimmy head feeling is something that is really hard to describe because you are just like sitting there like, this sucks, but it's also great at the same time. But just love it when you can get little pieces of Love King from there, because that's not Pangborn talking, that's literally King just like going through probably smoke breaks while he's doing this because he's obviously off drugs. That's probably one vice that he still has that doesn't really want to give up. Anyway, that was fun.
Well, speaking of addiction, like I like too the way he writes like just this brief bit about Buster's gambling addiction, page 269 of the pocketbooks. That was the real trouble with the track. He hadn't recognized it at first, but he had recognized it soon enough. The track was a place where people paid their money, took a ticket, and gave up their sanity for a little while. Keaton had seen too much insanity in his own family to feel comfortable with the attraction Lewiston Raceway held for him. It was a pit with greasy sides, a snare with hidden teeth, a loaded gun with the safety removed. When he went, he was unable to leave until the last race of the evening had been run. He knew he had tried. Once he had made it almost all the way to the exit turnstiles before something in the back of his brain, something powerful, enigmatic, and reptilian had arisen, taken control, and turned his feet around. Keaton was terrified of fully waking that reptile. Better to let it sleep. I just love that little bit because I know it's a little bit of humanizing there that, you know, these are compulsions, and how I think King is so good at writing like what it's like to be in the grip of addiction.
Yeah. Oh,
and we
totally.
we talked about that a lot with Misery too. I think there was a lot of that language in there, and that whole idea of just being trapped, because obviously that whole book is about being trapped and being tortured. And that to me is an area that he is very good at writing about.
You almost get a sense that this book, I mean, like we were saying last week, it is a purging. So if in that, context, when he's looking at these characters who are dealing with things that he might have dealt with himself. I don't think he was ever a gambler, but with the smoking and the addiction, or the idea of an addiction arc, or the compulsion, the need for things, is certainly something that is tied to his own personal experience. And the fact that he is this is like that spiritual cleansing for himself, it speaks in a lot of these characters, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, both sections and Hughes as well are ones where there's been a progression. They've come far enough that they can recognize that they are engaging in coping mechanisms that are unhealthy, rather than prior characters who kind of would just lose themselves immediately, or only have inklings that this was maybe something they should change. I think it's like almost scarier when you're like, the smoking section that you read, Mike, is sort of frightening, just because you're like, yeah, like obviously this is awful. And but I also know that I have not progressed beyond this coping mechanism enough. There's some other things going on in my life that necessitate this coping mechanism, so that it's not going to stop today.
And you just keep pushing it.
And then like the way, I think all of that is prelude to, the addiction these people have to the things they get at the store.
Yeah.
And I think one of the best depictions of that is Sally, page 513 of the pocketbooks, with the splinter of wood again. And this, I love the last line of this chapter as well. It's so good. She snatched it up, and at once felt peace and serenity flood through her. She grabbed the envelope with her other hand and then held both hands in front of her, good and evil, sacred and profane, alpha and omega. Then she put the torn envelope in the drawer and tossed her underwear on top of it in helter-skelter piles. She sat down, crossed her legs, and bowed her head over the splinter. She shut her eyes, expecting to feel the floor begin to sway gently beneath her, expecting the peace which came to her when she heard the voices of the animals, the poor, dumb animals, saved in a time of wickedness by the grace of God. Instead, she heard the voice of the man who had sold her the splinter. You really ought to take care of this, Mr. Gaunt said from deep within the relic. You really ought to take care of this nasty business. Yes, Sally Ratcliffe said. Yes, I know. She sat there all afternoon in her hot maiden's bedroom, thinking and dreaming in the dark circle which the splinter spread around her, a darkness which was like the hood of a cobra. Oof. I love that last line.
Yeah,
it's so
that's
spooky.
creepy.
But just that whole concept of like just a whole afternoon sitting on the floor with this one thing, like
so
in this
eerie.
meditative trance. It's very eerie, and it's very I know it speaks to that whole idea of addiction too, and about like losing yourself within this one thing,
and how much time is lost in that addiction too, which is really kind of, because it's almost like this, like an abandoned building almost, and you just like, time just keeps moving, and yet you're still in the same place. It's just
it's like that scene in Paranormal Activity when she just stands still and you see the time, hours go by.
I love it. God,
I like that movie actually.
Paranormal 3. I like towards the end when Alan it talks about there's like a little thing that King weighs on sanity on page 784. Alan felt sanity begin to fill him again. It was funny stuff, sanity. When it was taken away, you didn't know it. You didn't feel its departure. You only really knew it when it was restored, like some rare wild bird which lived and sang within you, not by decree, but by choice.
And I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that is a really good piece of writing that speaks to me, because there are times when you'll get like irate or upset at something or whatever it is, and then when you only really understand that you had lost it when it comes back to you. And that is it's weird that you only grasp it then and not when you're, losing your mind.
Yeah.
But
like
I guess it's counterintuitive.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I think that's something that it kind of even ties back to King with like Jack Torrance, maybe, of like his own feelings of maybe that's I can't. It's hard to imagine King as this like rageaholic. So I imagine that stuff was probably welded into Torrance, and it was more of like the alcoholism.
God damn it, Tabby!
Damn it, Tabby! Get the fuck out of here. I just can't see him doing that.
I got 12 pages left.
Yeah. But that is like that passage right there is a very like someone has definitely experienced that before. Like there's a knowledge to that. There's an intuition, and that's it's all over this book. I think there's a lot to that, and it's even with like the stuff with grief, like when on page 66 he talks about the tasty munch mixed nuts. The can was labeled Tasty Munch Mixed Nuts. Jesus Christ, it's hard to say.
You mean mixed beans, I think you mean?
The mixed beans.
Tasty Munch.
Alan twisted off the top, and 5 feet of compressed green snake leapt out and struck the windshield and rebounded in his lap. Alan looked at it, heard his dead son's laughter inside his head, and began to cry. His weeping was undramatic, silent, and exhausted. It seemed that his tears had a lot in common with the possessions of his dead loved ones. You never got to the end of them. There were too many, and just when you started to relax and think that it was finally over, the joint was clean. You found one more, and one more, and one more. Why had he let Todd buy the goddamn thing? Why was it still in the goddamn glove compartment? And why had he taken the goddamn wagon in the first place? He pulled his handkerchief out of his back pocket and mopped the tears from his face. Then slowly, he jammed the snake, just cheap green crepe paper with a metal spring wound up inside it, back into the bogus mixed nuts can. He screwed on the top and bounced the can thoughtfully on his hand. Throw the goddamn thing away. It's like he really gets to the core of like why we continue to keep doing these things again and again and again. And that stuff is like when I talk about like how I don't really give a shit about the ending. It's like it's because that you get these sort of like moments,
right?
And that's so much more valuable than whether Gaunt's like a gnome or whether Gaunt's the tall man.
No, I think that's the most valuable question posed by the book. One other moment for me, and I think we talk about this very often on episodes that I've been on, at least, particularly Cujo, about how good King is at bringing up a moment of the past that is now inaccessible and just how maddening and bitter-making that is. On 234 of the Viking, Polly sat with her hands resting on the arms of the chair like lumps of cast-off driftwood and looked longingly across the room at the couch where she and Alan had made love Friday night. Her hands hadn't hurt at all then, and that already seemed like 1,000 years ago. It occurred to her that pleasure, no matter how deep, was a ghostly, ephemeral thing. Love might make the world go round, but she was convinced it was the cries of the badly wounded and deeply afflicted which spun the universe on the great glass pole of its axis. Oh, you stupid couch, she thought. Oh, you stupid empty couch, what good are you to me now? And it's so sad. And I do feel like it is true that when we are in the midst of suffering or past it, we can remember it with much more clarity and much more fear and much more severity in a way that affects our current actions than the way in which we can recall pleasure and have that dictate our lives, and the way in which we can motivate ourselves to act differently by looking at a positive moment in the past. It's just deeply cynical, but also very true. It just always reminds me of the moment in Cujo where she's remembering the can sitting at her house and at home. She's trapped in the car.
Yeah. Any other word processor that we want to share?
I got a chill down my spine.
Yeah, I do too. I think I hear the rusty gates of the cemetery calling. Shall we?
We shall.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
The simplest transition is the best.
I love it. I love it. Welcome to the cemetery. This is where we talk about the spookiest moments in a book. The things that, kept us awake at night that wasn't are the nagging voice of depression.
Well, it's funny that Mel just mentioned Cujo.
Yeah.
And Cuj and the Canberra Ranch, because that, I feel, is the scariest moment of this entire book.
The Cooch cameo.
The Cooch cameo.
Cooch cam.
Cooch
Kinda
comes
wild.
back.
Cooch comes back.
He's back, baby. We thought he was gone.
We've been putting it
Cooch
out
comes
into
home.
the ether, and King heard us, and
I
he brought
literally
Cooch back.
Totally forgot about this, so it was a fun to revisit.
I just think the whole. I mean, it's a long section.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we need to read all of it.
No, we don't
but,
need to read all of it.
That whole sequence though of just there's the section on page 612. It's the idea is that Polly goes back to the Camber Ranch, which is already such a cool idea because you've been hearing about it the whole book, and you're hearing little bits and pieces about the aftermath of the Camber family, which we'll talk about in King's Dominion. But to actually go back to that setting and all the little bits and pieces that we know and remember from Cujo, which is still, I mean, I was thinking about it. It's really crazy how long ago that was when we read it. We read it in August of 2017.
Oh, wow.
It's now January of 2020. So like, it just was really kind of cool and nostalgic to go back there too. But there's just some really, really cool, creepy descriptions of this whole area. And on page 612, King writes, At that moment, the growling sound low, like an idling outboard motor, rose from the hot, dark maw of the barn again. It wasn't her imagination, and it wasn't a creaking board. It was a dog. Polly looked that way, frightened, and saw two sunken red circles of light peering out at her from the darkness. Like, and like we always say, and we just mentioned in the last episode, if it's it's there, it's there. Like, King isn't,
if it's there, it's there.
It's there. It is what it is.
It's there, and it's there. Do you think that I have a story that I tell myself in my head? This is a very like Mike take, that Cujo to King is indeed one of the scarier specters to summon because he doesn't remember writing the book, and so it feels exterior to his creation. Like, to even look back at Cujo and put it in and reference it in another book must feel very strange for him.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't think about that.
That is actually really
it
creepy.
a lot.
He
too.
does.
Yeah. And but there's also a tragedy to that horror too, because it's like an innocent thing that was turned evil, and it's also, an animal, and animals are inherently more innocent.
Well, if we look at like what the history of Cooge is, like it's supposed to be like Frank Dodd. So if it is indeed the spirit of Frank Dodd that's in Cujo, or that's what they, that was like the kind of like fun.
Listen, the rabies is Frank Dodd is Cujo, and the gnome is Gaunt.
yes.
Well, no, the spirit of Dodd possibly being in Cooge. When is that mentioned? I thought that was mentioned in this book, and I don't think it was.
No, it's not.
Is that mentioned anywhere else? Or is that just like a fan theory?
It's more of I want to say, was it mentioned in the Dark Half? Perhaps, or in one of the short stories after.
Maybe it's a Dark Half.
It's definitely mentioned in one of the books. They talk about how it was like the evil. Caffrey would know, but they talk about how like it had the spirit of like the killer that claimed Castle Rock.
That does sound like some fan theory bullshit, though.
But it is probably fan theory bullshit. I mean, it makes no sense.
But it's fun.
I love it. Yeah, it makes total sense in this universe.
We're in Kings,
especially in Castle Rock.
I want to say it's when they describe the sort of knowledge and the way that it kills. That's like very like Dodd like or something like that. But or has.
Well, we also get the like Dodd might be in Tad's closet, right?
Yes.
Like there's. I mean, I don't know.
Right,
he's all over. I view Dodd as more of a symptom of the same larger thing that contributes to all of those things.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just like the disease that covers Castle Rock.
Yeah.
What else scared people? I agree. Cujo moment is very scary.
I've got some like unsettling, like weird, real moments where, like on page 176, when Alan is worrying that his son might have been burned to death reaching for the seatbelt.
Oh yeah. That section is
that is
that whole
horrible.
section. That's why I couldn't believe you made it part of your fucking fake name, man.
Look,
really got
hey,
me.
listen, we got to bring the laughs as much as the terror. On page 619, when Cora is dying, and she says, "I'm coming to you, Elvis." She says, "I'm coming to you, Elvis." She tried to say. But something seemed terribly wrong. There seemed to be only darkness and no one in it but her. And it's just like these weird last gasps of breath where you realize it's the dupe. You realize you've been duped and like there is nothing. Like this is all for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really awful. And of course, Rusk Brian Rusk blowing his head off is
Ugh.
just that
When-
for me was the most terrifying part of the book.
When
where I
his
just couldn't
brother
believe it.
talks about it to Alan, though,
Yeah.
is like devastating. When he's like, it wasn't just blood. Like,
Yeah.
it was also.
I've got brothers, and not that you have.
Do you?
I don't
Do you
think
have
that. I don't think you have to have a sibling to feel this, but like, if I was that age and I walked in and saw my brother do that, like, forget it. I'd be in the nut house. Like, I don't know how. I don't know how you come. I don't know how you are able to survive something like that when you don't have the you haven't learned the things that you need to in order to battle something, seeing something like that at that age, you know.
Yeah.
And that was just terrifying. I felt so bad for that younger brother and Brian, obviously, but yeah, I just thought that was creepy as hell.
Oh, no,
What about
his life is ruined.
Oh.
Well, it reminds me of. Well, it almost just feels like a cruel subversion of what he did in the Tommyknockers, which is in the Tommyknockers, like, spoiler alert, jump ahead 30 seconds if you don't want it spoiled, but it's like the two brothers in that are the two, like, kids are the only ones who basically survive from the town, and they're reunited in the end, which in this, it's very different because the town comes out mostly all, I mean, not, but like, but these two children are absolutely ruined.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think having read Tommyknockers, I was shocked that he went there with this, because I was like, well, if he saved them in Tommyknockers like he did, it's like, he won't do that to Brian. But
I think this is the darkest moment of the entire book.
It's the
Oh, for
It's
sure.
the darkest moment in the
Yeah,
entire book,
absolutely.
and one of the darkest moments I think in King's canon.
Well,
Well, sense like maybe
yeah.
even Pet Sematary,
and that's
Like,
where I think, like, it's really hard for me to just accept the satire, humor, kind of
exactly.
event. And that it's there. I'm not saying it's not there, but it's like when you go that dark, you were in horror territory. You know,
I was going to say, if I hadn't been told that this book was a satire, and I was asked which of the two books, Tommyknockers or Needful Things, is a satire, like Tommyknockers by a mile.
Yeah,
that book
obvious.
is-
What if when Brian like pulled the trigger, like, you know, like flowers came out or something like that, you know, like,
and Alan's like, I got
Alan,
it, you know,
give him the finger guns, abracadabra.
yeah,
It-
exactly. That could have worked.
Oh boy.
what was some of the scary stuff?
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you?
For me, I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but the general concept that the things in Needful Things, the product, is sort of weirdly, ephemeral is not the right word, but like amorphous. And I love that whole concept, but this part really early in the book, I love it. And it just kind of sends chills up my spine. But this is when Brian first goes in the store, or he's not in the store yet, but he's looking through the window.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, so Brian was, after all, actually seeing the inside of the new store. His mother would talk to him the rest of the afternoon when she heard that. The maddening part was this. He wasn't sure exactly what he was seeing. There were half a dozen items in the display cases, and the spotlights were trained on them. A kind of trial run, probably. But he couldn't tell what they were. He could, however, tell what they weren't. Spool beds and moldy crank telephones. And that's just a little bit, but it's that whole concept of like staring at something and not perceiving it, not knowing exactly what you're looking at. And it reminds me of later when Leland's talking to Ace and he calls them, they're just gray things is what he calls them. And like that to me is a very unnerving idea that these are just these sort of like amorphous gray things that exist in these cases. And they are both, what we see in the mind's eye, but also, like, you look at something and it's like you're just staring at a blob or something. You know, it's a very unnerving idea to me. So
No, I really like that. Yeah, his whole first experience, I think it's such a great way to start the book with Brian's experience, because like with everyone else, when they're like, oh, the foxtail or this or that or the fishing rod, it's the item, but it's not really the item. It's what it stands for with a lot of these people. It's what the hope of maybe getting your life back together or whatever it is. But for Brian, when he goes there, none of these things make sense, and everything is kind of muddy and weird because he's so innocent that Gaunt has to talk to him to figure out what he actually wants, and it's just a baseball card.
Yeah,
it's not like something that represents something bigger. It's just like this cool baseball card with his signature on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so that was really creepy, that the store almost didn't make sense.
No.
And the store is at its I feel at that point, right out the gate, is kind of at its peak creepiness. Like he walks in, and I think the door closes on its own, but he doesn't even notice it because he's just like you get right out of the gate that there's something off about the store, and it's scary and creepy and otherworldly, and they're not trying to like hide that fact right out the gate. And I think that's creepy.
It's pretty helpful too, because like later on when Ace notes that he's able to put up a sign without any sticky adhesiveness too. Like that little
You're like, I think this
detail.
store's kind of weird.
Well, that's one of my favorite parts is Ace like kind of rationalizing Needful Things when he's in there, because like Gaunt's not really trying to hide the sort of weird supernatural aspect of it, and Ace is just like, all right.
Talked about that last time, but their weird relationship is so funny.
Like, I love it.
Like they're just like two ships of evil passing in the night. They're not going to pretend with each other, but Gaunt is stronger, so he's going to strong arm Ace into working for him. And Ace is just like, I guess I'm going to fucking do this.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really have anything that Ace needs other than the cocaine. I mean, he obviously he gives him the book and stuff with the because he needs the money.
Well,
he wants the money that was buried, and he wants that legacy.
I do wish that Ace would have walked around and been like, the store's kind of a piece of shit compared to my Pappy store. My
Pappy
that burned down.
Like, what, the devil or something?
Yeah.
Pat Merrill.
Mel, do you have any spooky cemeteries?
Sure. I mean, just the brief overview of like bigger ones. I really got scared by Polly's arthritis. The idea of like how much suffering could I actually endure before I would put on this like very clearly evil medallion. Probably, like, I just feel like when you are in pain, you become a different person, and that's scary to me. Your moral compass gets scooched visible degrees like to another direction, which is scary.
Oh yeah.
The when the bartender is like dying and he can't get through because it's like a small town and like one emergency is too much for them to handle.
Yeah.
And at some point the like deputy even picks up the phone and is like, call back later, like we have a situation here, like we can't handle it. And he's like dying on the floor. Like that really messed with me. I felt so bad for him.
Yeah.
And that just kind of drove home the whole like small towns are not what they used to be. Like now we have cell phones, but this situation you are totally marooned. That's really scary. It's like when you are knocking on the houses in a horror film and no one's answering.
Yeah.
Annie's death, which Mac already mentioned. I don't want to read any of that. It's like very upsetting.
It is.
Yeah.
I love the tape recorder. That's like
really
deep.
I do too.
It's like it's really old, but it's clearly addressed to Ace and he can't figure that out. Like that was just a fun bit of scariness.
Well, it's funny now because it's so antiquated, because it's like you could have easily pulled that off now, like with like technology, but at that time it's just like, wait a second, that's that line that crosses
that
the line.
is a really creepy sequence.
That whole scene is pretty fun.
The fact that Ace is unnerved and scared, that gave it the gravity that I
like if he's scared,
deserved,
I'd be pooping my pants. But
Mel, you said you knew who because there's that graffiti on the wall, the Yog Sothoth rules. Like, that's a Lovecraftian figure?
Mm-hmm. He's one of the elder gods.
What do you think why is that there?
Well, I think King loves Lovecraft, and he mentions him. Like we talked in the last episode about how Randall Flagg, one of his many names is Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos. Mm-hmm. So I think King really likes undergirding his world with larger mythologies, always implying that there is something bigger at play, that these forces have come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And they are related, like in the way that Nyarlathotep and Yog Sothoth are like literally related. I think it's just a stand-in for gigantic, dark, incomprehensible forces.
Right.
And I stopped there and was like, that's cool.
I love that little moment. Yeah, it's like, because I just love those moments when King can point towards like a larger evil that, like we're just glancing off the side of a much larger like evil, which is always something he's been so good at.
Yeah.
So.
There are a lot of gross moments in this book. Like, we do not need to read them, but in particular, the guts hanging out of Nettie.
He loves that.
Very upsetting.
Very upsetting.
Yeah.
The church sequence where he says something like large rag dolls that had learned to vomit as the women fell out of the window onto the lawn. Like, just like that is a disgusting sequence.
When Hugh gets shot by the sawed-off shotgun, they describe his chest as like God, how did he phrase it? Like a desiccated red swamp or something. And it's like, I know, it made me like my lips curl. I was like, Jesus.
Something that I like cringed at was when that guy severs Len's spinal cord with his pocket knife.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like that's just like so like you just see that happening. Just
so
like
gritty.
the effort to do that, like it's just it's gritty.
There's
and
even a little
disgusting.
moment that's like he felt his lip split open across his teeth. Like that's like a pretty big split. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, how about when Polly bites Ace's hand and it says like her teeth going up to the gums?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think that's possible.
How about when Polly bites down on that spider?
Oh yeah,
the whole spider sequence is pretty cool.
The spider.
I almost think
Azka.
like I feel like he reuses that sequence for Dreamcatcher because it's very similar. Like using like the plunger and everything. But I thought that scene was really intense in the way that they kept cross cutting between other like sequences and going back to her.
That's very cinematic.
And the idea
too.
of the spider growing, like if you remade this, like that would be such a cool image to do.
Seriously,
it's
insane. I mean, they probably didn't have the budget, but it's kind of insane to me that they couldn't do that. Like, cause that whole section, and just when she describes biting it, and it fills her mouth with like taste of like bitter tea or something.
And
like
she holds onto it and
tea.
then spits it. And
Oh
stuff.
God,
Just so.
Yeah, God.
I just remember thinking, I'm like, don't. In my mind, I'm just like, don't swallow any of it.
Yeah, right.
You know, I've got two more. I kept them to the end so that Randall could cover his ears.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I literally might like need to leave the room.
We don't have to go into
need to
it
read
too
them.
deep. Can I just? I'm not going to go. I'm not going to read the descriptions.
Okay,
I'm just going to mention the two things.
I'm very, very sensitive to animal violence, listeners. I'm sorry.
Cora kicking a cat.
Garfield.
Garfield. Well, that's almost played for comedy, so I'm a little bit okay with that. But.
She came back and gave Garfield some lasagna.
Oh God,
Garfield.
And then I'll just mention the person and I'll mention the person and the weapon, a Hugh Priest and a corkscrew. That's all I gotta say. That was hard for me, and I have no problem with animal violence.
You know who else does? You know who else has no problem with animal violence? Serial killers.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. What
I just wanted to read the bit that we mentioned last time, which still gets to me, and I think is the creepiest Mr. Gaunt moment and the best moment when he stands in for something bigger than himself as a sort of like unfeeling force of commerce, which is when Slopey says, like, I'll do anything to anyone. I hate to stutter. Like, please take it away. And Mr. Gaunt says on 432 of the Viking, or Slopey says, do you ever just give things away, Mr. Gaunt? Leland Gaunt's face grew deeply sorrowful. Oh, Slopey, how often I've thought of it, and with such longing. There is a deep, untapped well of charity in my heart, but it just wouldn't be business, Mr. Gaunt finished. He favored Slopey with a compassionate smile, but his eyes sparkled so wolfishly that Slopey took a step backward. You understand, don't you? Yeah, sure.
So mean. What a little shit. I love when King goes full Bradbury, when Brian Rusk starts having more nightmares about Gaunt. On page 122.
The baseball game?
This is might be the baseball game. I can't remember. But it says he saw a long black car, a Cadillac, or maybe a Lincoln Mark IV, pulling up in front of his house. The driver's door opened, and Mr. Leland Gaunt stepped out. Only Gaunt was no longer wearing a smoking jacket like the one Sherlock Holmes wore in some of the stories. Mr. Gaunt, who now strode across the landscape of Brian's imagination, wore a formidable black suit, the suit of a funeral director, and his face was no longer friendly. His dark blue eyes were even darker in anger, and his lips had pulled back from his crooked teeth, but not in a smile. His long, thin legs went scissoring up the walk to the Rusk door, and the shadow man attached to his heels looked like a hangman in a horror movie. Like, oh, that is such a fucking cool description.
Yeah, that's such a great
and
description.
it's so old school, like Bradbury, something this way. But the tall, I've said it multiple times on this podcast, but like one of my biggest fears growing up was Abraham Lincoln, because he's tall, thin, and just like has that like really creepy demeanor to him. And it's like the idea of this like tall presence like walking across like the this like sunlit like lawn is just such a creepy juxtaposition to me. I don't know.
I love that. I love every time that you bring up that you were scared of Abraham Lincoln.
Terrified. I had
the hat is very scary.
The hat, and I would have it. He would open the closet door, and there'd be chains like Hellraiser inside.
The scariest part
that is weird.
for me,
like Hellraiser.
Yeah,
it was looking at Pinhead right above you on the wall.
And
here.
I do have Pinhead. Yeah.
The scariest part for me was when Mr. Gaunt revealed he has an alien face. Just kidding.
It's also Garfield references hit home for me here because Mike's icon on Skype is like
lasagna cat.
Lasagna
Garfield
cat. Yeah.
YouTube's. I don't know.
I love it. Lasagna cat's the best.
Every time I'm recording an episode, just know that I'm looking at this weird
John
Garfield
Arbuckle.
I'm Garfield.
I love it.
I would say I think I cringed every time Polly described her pain or King described Polly's pain. But the one that I think
I've got the same one. Go for it.
Mine is on page 313. Her hands felt like crude ceramic figures baked until they were on the verge of cracking. Oof. The pain was both hot and cold, set deep in her flesh like complex networks of poisoned wires. She held her hands up despairingly, scarecrow hands, awful deformed hands, and downstairs the doorbell chimed again. She uttered a distracted little cry. Like, that's just awful. Awful.
That is a really good one. I don't have the actual line, but it's when Gaunt comments on her hands swelling up like inner tubes of poison gas, and just like the idea that's just like and that is a line he says to her. I think that's one of the more creepy things in this book for me was Gaunt's interactions with people after he's already given them the item. How quick it will turn, and he'll say some really awful thing to them, and they just like accept it because they're just like already under the trance, Mm-hmm. But it's like really off-putting for the reader because some of the things he says and some of the things he makes them do, like you were mentioning earlier, Randall, is just it's just weird. It's off-putting.
I thought was really kind of a cool scene. Maybe not so. I guess it's creepy. Was just when Pangborn finally does go to the store and he's literally standing right in front of him and doesn't see him. Which is such a cool little like. Kind of a Halloween H2O moment. He was like almost like acting like Michael Myers in this sequence where he's. I mean, just the fact that he's staring right in front of him, and Pangborn almost gets like a little hint of it, like, oh wait, there is someone in there, but no, it just looks like me. Like I thought that was like a really cool sequence that you could do in film. Yeah, and it would look awesome. Like it had that real no music, just kind of silence. You hear the wind. It would be very effective.
I like this little bit. It's kind of, I don't know why I like it. Maybe it's not good, but I like it. That was a fun,
thanks.
Fun preface.
You really sold me.
You read the fucking gnome passage,
please. No, he's much earlier in the book. He's much earlier.
No. Matt can see I've got many pages left till the end. This is 452. It's when Everett, who I think he's the dentist or something. He is in Needful Things, and I just thought this paragraph was kind of, it hit me like the last sentence hit me. Once he was sitting behind the wheel again, the first thing Everett did was unlock the glove compartment, put the envelope with Lovey written on the front in, and take the pipe out. One thing he did remember was Mr. Gaunt's teasing him, saying that Arthur Conan Doyle had once owned the pipe, and he had almost believed him. How silly. You only had to put it in your mouth and clamp your teeth on the stem to know better. The original owner of this pipe had been Hermann Goering, the famous Nazi, which to me was just kind of a gut punch. And just the way it's written, where it's like, well, of course you put your teeth on it and you know this belonged to a famous Nazi.
Does that mean that he loves that it belongs to a famous Nazi, or is he seeing the sinister nature of the object? It seems like he's into it.
I think he's into it. And because he's saying that Mr. Gaunt was teasing him, that Arthur Conan Doyle owned it. So I don't know. Honestly, like reading it, and I felt this way when I read it first too, it's like, I'm not sure. And I think that's why I said, like, maybe this isn't good, but because I don't really know what they're getting at there, like whether he's into it having belonged to a Nazi or if that's the narrator having a little fun. But it's like, it's just that the gut punch of that is just a little bit unnerving.
It'd be very Castle Rock to be like, by the way, this man's a secret Nazi. And that's kind of scary. So
well,
sure.
when when you've got two school teachers who deal cocaine to everybody and also are way into kiddie porn, then
yeah, the whole kiddie porn, all the descriptions of the kiddie porn is really like, I mean, I don't even think that fits in Poundcake at all. I think that's actually like pretty dark and disturbing.
Or
Yeah,
the
I don't
photos
have
of like
that
a
in
woman
Poundcake.
having sex with a dog.
Yeah,
no,
that
thank
what
you.
a weird,
well, especially
little-
where
yeah.
it's buried too. Like
Yeah.
that would be really eerie to just to see, like, be like, wow, this woman's having sex with a dog, and there's a dog that killed all these people here too. Like,
maybe it was Cooge in the photo.
It says something like the dog's.
Maybe it
the
was
dog had enough
Cooge. Maybe it was
intelligence
Cooge.
in its eyes to be embarrassed.
yes.
Oh, I know.
God.
Yeah, that was like that. Like killed me.
Well, they say though that it is Cooge because when they flip it around, he signed
As his paw. Love ya.
Actually, the breed of the dog is specified, and it's not a Saint Bernard.
It's a collie, right?
Your fan theory is rejected. Yes.
I wish it was Cooge though.
We'll be signing fan art with the Cujo's paw print.
Oh man. Speaking of sexy things.
Oh God.
Any other cemeteries?
I thought that like when Cora dies and she's like, oh, I want to go to Elvis, and it's just darkness. It kind of reminded me of what happens to like Sue Snell at the end of Carrie, where she like realizes that like in death there is just ice, there's just nothing. It's just like, and that's kind of fucked up. It almost reminds me of like the Jaunt in that way, that you just kind of think about like the afterlife and like this eternity of nothing. Like, fucking Christ. I'd rather have that than hell, but still terrifying. Yeah.
Any other terrifying things from you fine folks?
I see some red eyes.
Just Buster taking a hammer to his poor wife.
Oh,
ooh, yeah, that whole sequence is awful.
Yeah.
Even just the idea of her laying alone with that doll is like really like the
yeah,
infantilization of that
too,
is just really it sticks with me.
Yeah, I have one last one. So at the end, Leland Gaunt turns into a little dwarf. And it's crazy that his actual, actual form is this tiny little dwarf who drives a carriage.
It's also weird because it's scary for me on a different level where I'm just scared that you actually think that that's real.
Randall, you promised. You promised.
I don't know if
Gaunt promised a lot of things in this book too.
Maybe I'm the Mr. Gaunt of this podcast.
I don't know if it's really tied to the story so much, but there is a sequence at the end of Tim Burton's Beetlejuice in which they're having a wedding.
And it's the same guy.
And I think it's the same guy.
It's a crossover.
It's Leland Gaunt.
Because they came out around the same time, right?
Yeah, it was around the same
like,
time.
when did Beetlejuice come out?
I think 88, maybe 87, 88.
So that's clearly the inspiration.
It's the inspiration,
It's
yeah.
the same character canonically.
He probably had it on VHS. When McDonald's used to give VHS tapes?
No, we have to stop.
All right.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, what's the
I think we're a little bit winded from walking through the cemetery, and we need a snack to pick ourselves up.
Ooh.
And you know what's on the menu? Poundcake.
After all you've been taught, everyone isn't bad, Mama. Everything isn't a sin.
Come to your closet and pray. Ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mama.
Welcome to Poundcake. This is the section.
Welcome to Poundcake.
Welcome to Poundcake. Welcome to Poundcake. This is the section where we talk about the stuff that made us laugh, the stuff that made us cringe a little bit. Not misery per se, but more so things that were just like, Stevie, what are you doing? This is a little bit weird. I feel like we're gonna have a good amount. So who wants to kick things off? Mike?
No, Mel, you go.
Okay, can we start with? Well, I'll let someone else take Brian's dream, which is just
great.
I literally just looked at my computer and I saw Brian's little boner.
I'll go with. I mean, we'll start off. Something easy, something kind of just like painless and dumb, which is Alan and Polly's sex scene. There are tender moments in here, but the fact that he is like, King clearly like just doesn't know what specifically would get a woman off in this position, and he resorts to phrases like, the thumb of his other hand was doing things to her down there, things she had never even considered. Keep in mind, she's wearing jeans. Yeah. Like, I don't know. And this whole thing where he's like,
Alan's got the magic though.
Back and forth on his hand. I mean, it sounds objectively great, but she says, "Oh my God, Alan, I'll never wash these jeans."
Which is ridiculous.
That is classic.
Like, come on.
I always love that kind of shit. Or I feel like remember that bit in Bad Santa when he's like, when he's like banging a woman, he says something like, "You won't shit right for a week" or something.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's so like this filthy. I kind of love it. Yeah, I'll read about Brian's little boner.
Yeah.
Oh God.
His little dream. It's just, I don't know. I think it's because it's like a weird fetishistic dream where Sally is like chiding him in class.
Yeah.
But then, so he was sitting in the back row of the basement room where the speech therapy classes were held, and he had done something wrong, terribly wrong by the sound of Miss Ratcliffe's voice, but he didn't know what it was until he stood up. Then he saw that he was naked. A horrible wave of shame swept over him, but he felt excited too. When he looked down at his penis and saw it starting to stiffen, he felt both alarmed and thrilled. And then just like, but then all the kids are in the room too. He advanced slowly to the front of the room while the others, Sally Myers, Donnie Frankel, and poor old half-bright Slopey Dodd, goggled at him. And then
there's also a line that's really gross in this.
What is
like it? It's just so King, where it's just like she went on pulling Brian's pudding.
Oh yeah, I have that.
That's fucking gross.
She went on pulling Brian's pudding.
Yeah, it is. I just remember thinking it was weird when I was young and I read this too, because I'm like, why is he getting off on shame? But now that I'm adult,
you're like, oh, I get it.
I think I get it.
But wait, that's a bad feeling.
Yeah, it was. So anyways, fun little piece of Poundcake. And then I also just thought it was weird later that King just felt to add that when Brian was throwing the mud, he had a boner. Mm-hmm. So.
Also, when he wakes up, one of the times he wakes up, it says, and his penis was a small, hard branch inside his pajama trousers.
Small, hard branch.
Oh,
Oy.
He was when that happened, he was just like looking outside the window, and he's like, synonym for boner.
How about when Alan yells
tree
on page 440? He yells, "More," he said with a leer. "Cleavage. We want cleavage." Oh yeah. It's just like people don't talk like that.
You said Alan yelled?
I'm pretty sure when he's in the car with Polly, he like yells that out because she's showing him the necklace, and she kind of like unbuttons her blouse a little bit.
I actually think their sex scene's pretty hot.
I mean, he is joking at this moment, but it's still like weird. Like
I was reading that sex scene, Mike going, I bet Mike thinks this is really
I love a good couple sex scene. You know, Pet Sematary is still number one for me, but this is kind of close for me. What isn't close for me is on page 133 with Gaunt and Myra, where we already mentioned this scene, but just the one line is pretty King. And you'll have to throw in a blowjob, of course, Gaunt said, grinning down at her. She looked up at him, her mouth a perfect O. "What did you say?" she whispered. "Blow me," he shouted down at her. "Fillet me. Open that gorgeous metal-filled mouth of yours and gobble my crank."
Oh my God!
Gobble my crank.
Gobble my.
He likes the gobbling tied with oral sex.
Yeah,
he uses the gobble
gobbling's
all the
in
time.
The Stand, and we talked about it. I think it's in Tommyknockers too.
Oh, really?
I could be wrong. I know it pops up in several things. The gobble.
I really want to talk about Solid Hawk and Loin for a moment.
Do it.
Oh, go for it.
I laughed out loud so hard at these lines, starting on 366. He and Sally had some pretty hot sessions, but they had never gone all the way. Lester usually returned home after these sessions in a state of total discomposure, his brain bursting with joy and his balls bursting with frustrated jizz, dreaming of the night not too far away now when he wouldn't have to stop. He sometimes wondered if he might not drown her the first time they actually did it.
Whoa.
Disgusting.
I love that "did it" is capitalized. Capital D, capital I.
love the parallelism of his brain is bursting with joy, but his balls are bursting with frustrated. The jizz is frustrated.
Well, it reminds me of like it's so dumb that it reminds me of the first Scary Movie when the guy they have sex and then his jizz like cakes her to the ceiling. It's so gross, but I love it.
I had one that's not. It's not sexually related, but it made me laugh. I just cracked up, and it's because it's the beginning of a chapter. It's so blunt. It said, Ace Merrill rolled out of bed around the same time that Brian Rusk was blowing his head off 30 miles away. I was like, Jesus, King! Like, we got it. The kid killed himself.
That's so intense.
I think I laughed at that too.
But that whole description of his apartment is like so disgusting when he's talking about how like he doesn't flush and speaking of bowel movements, There's a lot of mentioning of shit in this.
Yeah.
He doesn't disappoint there because
I've
he
got
loves to fill people's pants.
You got one?
No, you go for it.
Page 52, and Nettie, she says, "Oh, it gave me the backdoor trot."
Yes.
Oh yeah, that made me laugh.
And then she also says, or she's thinking about Gaunt talking to her, is, "I'm gonna hurt you, Nettie. I'm gonna drag you into the back room and twist your nipples until you holler, uncle." It's just like weird stuff.
Well, they kind of prey upon the Gaunt sexual deviancy in the movie.
Oh, really?
He like kisses Polly in a really weird way. It looks like he's devouring her fucking head or something. But
weird.
Speaking of shit, though, on page 162, it had been a race to see if he could manage to drop his trousers before he filled them.
Oh, yeah.
That race, Norris managed to win. But he hadn't looked like whatever. But that's it. But like
he poops on the photo of George T. Nelson.
Yeah, there's that poop there.
It's and like, but the way it's described is he's got these cramps and stuff like
Yes.
that. I have to say, I'm just gonna throw it in Poundcake because it's so silly. But that scene where Frank Jewett is behind the couch when Craig T. Nelson's sitting on it.
Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say Craig T. Nelson. And it's just this like extremely long sequence that is so unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like a nightmare because like I'm very claustrophobic and it's effective in that sense. But I'm also like, dude, Polly's fighting a spider. I don't need to watch this guy asphyxiate and the shitting too.
Yeah.
But no, I just want to read this one really quick. Page 297 of Pocketbooks. This is like a phrase that almost feels ahead of its time. It was that sort of leap before you look behavior, not Duke Sheehan's puny little dingus, which had gotten her in trouble to begin with. We're in the middle of Polly's backstory, and it's like fairly tragic, and there's a lot, going on here. And just so the phrase "puny little dingus" made me laugh. And dingus is one of my favorite phrases for the penis. So,
just speaking of great phrases, I would really like one of us to do a dramatic reading of the fake letter to Lester Pratt.
I have it in my notes. 1 second. This is so good. Okay. I just wrote hilarious next to this. Okay, I'm going to read it. Very excited. Darling Les, Felicia took this when we were at the Tiger the other night. She said she ought to use it to blackmail us, but she was only teasing. She gave it to me, and I am giving it to you as a souvenir of our big night. It was terribly naughty of you to put your hand under my skirt like that, and then in quotes, right out in public. But it got me so hot. Besides, you are so strong. The more I looked at it, the more...
Besides!
The more I looked at it, the more hot, in quotes, it started to make me. If you look close, you can see my underwear. It's a good thing Felicia wasn't around later when I wasn't wearing any! 3 exclamation points.
And then the next sentence is just as a period. It's so weird.
I will see you soon. In the meantime, keep this picture, quote, in remembrance of me. I will be thinking of you and your big thing. I better stop now before I get any hotter or I'll have to do something naughty. And please stop worrying about you-know-who. She is too busy going steady with Jesus to worry about us. I love it.
What about on page 517 when King talks about a momentary heart-stopping length of thigh?
Oh boy, that's pretty tame for this book.
It is tame for this book.
When you go into coronary arrest because you see a girl's thigh.
God, thigh!
I can see Ed Harris doing that.
You go, Mac.
Oh, just page 389 when Ace gets into the car, he says, he thinks the sedan had the incomparable new car smell. Nothing like it in the world. And then in parentheses, except maybe for pussy.
Hey, that's a King's Dominion.
Wait, what?
That's a King's Dominion. They also say that in Christine.
Oh, there you go.
Good memory on that one.
That's a really good. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Lots of boobs in this. I wrote down a few. I just remember. Although I forgot, like when we meet Nan at the diner, I think in this, like her boobs are mentioned twice in one paragraph, which made me laugh. But okay. The Castle Rock selectman and select woman shared a single full-time secretary, a young woman with the exotic name of Ariadne St. Clair. She was a happy young woman, not overburdened with intelligence, but tireless and pleasing to look at. She had large breasts, which rose in soft, steep hills beneath an apparently endless supply of Angora sweaters, and lovely skin.
King writing his own softcore porn.
Seriously.
He loves boobs and sweaters.
And then Sally, just for literally no reason. Let me see if I can find it. It's, yeah, here we go. The name, okay. Outside, droves of kids were shouting their way across the lawn to where the number 2 and number 3 buses idled sleepily at the curb. Sally's low heels clicked and clacked. She was holding a manila envelope in one hand. The name on this envelope, Frank Jewett, was turned in against her gently rounded breast.
Yep,
like no reason.
Always
no
the breast.
reason.
Gotta have the breast,
It's
though.
like
It's
always
rounded, but gently.
We have to remember that, he started out writing for smut magazines
It's
and putting
true.
his short stories in there,
It
which
is
is
good to
one of the
remember
reasons
that.
why he's
What is
always
this, like 20 years later? Like, he
It
can't
is.
grow as a writer?
Hey, once you go smut, you don't go back. But I do like one of the things that's very indicative of this is when he's talking about Trooper Morris, and on page 722, Trooper Morris flew backward against the hood of his cruiser and rolled into the street, clutching the ruins of his sexual equipment and trying to scream.
Oh, that's
I actually like the writing of that. I like the
a
description,
cemetery.
but it is it is a very cemetery thing. But it just shows that that focus of I can't fuck. I'm useless without fuck.
I laughed aloud once again. 67 at Cora. At once she was in Graceland again. Relief, anticipation, and amazing horniness filled her.
Amazing.
Oh gosh,
horniness.
I had page 111. The Elvis dream. I didn't. I just wrote read, but I can't. If you've read the book, you've read it. You know what I'm talking about. It's just over the top.
But the thing is, Elvis is so tacky to me. I can't stand Elvis, and the idea that there's this sexual tension tied to it.
Two
so
of the women
campy.
in the town.
Yeah,
are,
two of the women.
with it.
Which is I want to.
Well, how unfulfilling are their real lives? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do love though that they share the delusion, when
Yes.
they when Elvis talks to her,
Yeah.
as they're boning.
no, that's my
come on,
fantasy.
baby.
That shit is hilarious. But I also just love, you read the quote earlier, but just the idea of increasingly weirder sex
Yes.
with Elvis. I love that at least is kept somewhat vague. Okay, so I know we didn't want to go too much about the Jewett Craig T. Nelson stuff with the kitty porn because it is really unnerving and weird. But I will say that just this choice of phrasing I can't ignore. So this is after all the magazines have been spread throughout his office. He sat behind his desk and put the stack of magazines on the floor. He saw that the drawer they'd been in had been forced, just as he had feared. He ripped open the envelope and spilled out the contents. Most of them were glossy photographs of him and George T. Nelson at that party in Boston. They were cavorting with a number of nice young fellows. The oldest of the nice young fellows might have been 12, and in each picture, George T. Nelson's face was obscured, but Frank Jewett's was crystal clear. But it's just the phrase "nice young fellows" in this context is, to me, maybe appropriate for the. Well, the thing is, it's not. It might be appropriate for the character in happier times, but he's so angry here. It still seems like a weird turn of phrase in the midst of this. So
I think have you officially killed Poundcake?
Have I killed Poundcake?
I don't think I have any more.
I didn't know where to put this. I think it's Poundcake for the modern era, because it's the Joker reference. Did you guys catch that?
No, go for it.
Yeah, go for it, Mel.
On 640, but the picture of Mr. Gaunt, which had formed in his mind on the long, wild ride from the hospital in Bridgeton, was that of Batman's nemesis, the Joker. Alan had an idea that he was dealing with the sort of man who would think installing a jet-powered backflow valve in a friend's toilet the very height of humor, and would have like that, the sort of fellow who would put a tack in your chair, stick a burning match in the sole of your shoe just for laughs, leave before you sat down or notice that your socks were on fire and your pants cuffs were catching. Of course not. What fun would that be? All I could picture was Michael Caine being like, he was holding a diamond the size of a tangerine.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
I just want to watch the world burn. I want to watch the world burn, Mr. Wayne.
Mr. Leland Gaunt.
Any other pound cakes? Are we full?
I'm actually wanting some pound cake. Not like the actual sex, but I mean like actual pound cake.
Oh,
anyway,
you're talking about the food pound cake.
The food pound. I want something sweet, a sweet treat.
Well, maybe you could
sweet
think
treat.
about that sweet treat as we take a walk around King's Dominion.
There's another world out there.
I know there is.
Welcome to King's Dominion.
Well,
Oh my
It's
God.
the whole book.
It's the whole book.
I
It's the whole
have
book.
so many.
I have so many. It's insane.
We don't even need to I don't think you need to get specific because there's so many that are repeated. Like, first of all,
Well,
every
I'm not
Castle
gonna-
Rock story.
Oh, we got some weird
I
ones.
won't repeat thing. I'll try to. Okay, well, obviously we have Cujo, Frank Dodge, Shawshank. They mention all those things. We have, it takes place in Castle Rock, so things like Mellow Tiger and that stuff isn't really surprising because it's there.
And then Pop Merrill, we get a lot of references to the Sundog and the Emporium Glorium burning down.
Like right from the get-go.
Right from the
On
get-go.
like page 8 of my book, it literally has this whole rundown. It's like, I guess you'd
Oh,
say,
yeah,
but
page
not
8,
all
yeah.
our troubles in Castle Rock are ordinary. I got to see you straight on that. No one has forgotten Frank Dodd, the crossing guard who went crazy here 12 years ago and killed these women. And they haven't forgot the dog either. The one that came down with rabies and killed Joe Camber and the old rummy down the road from him. The dog killed good old Sheriff George Bannerman, too. Alan Pangborn is doing that job these days, and he's a good man, but he won't ever stack up to Big George in the eyes of the town. Wasn't nothing ordinary about what happened to Reginald Pop Narrell either. Pop was the old miser who used to run the town junk shop. The Emporium Glorium, it was called. Stood right where the vacant lot is across the street. The place burned down a while ago, but there are people in town who saw it, or claim they did anyway, who will tell you after a few beers down at the Mellow Tiger that it was a lot more than a simple fire that destroyed the Emporium Glorium and took Pop Merrill's life. And then, his nephew Ace, and they already mentioned that. So, within 8 pages, they're there's a roundup. The only one that's not really mentioned there is the Dark Half, which is acknowledged.
Have a lot of, there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
but,
in 78,
what do
he
you got?
directly mentions it. So the business with Thad Beaumont, for instance, you really couldn't get that off your mind. What happened at their house by the lake and how after it was all over, he used to get drunk and call you. And then his wife took the twins and left him. All of that added to the usual turnaround stuff or around town stuff kept you pretty busy, didn't it? So
that was really sad to me because, and that were we all on the
I wasn't
Dark
on
Half?
Dark
Half. Never read it.
Okay. That knowing the ending of that book and then having that be what ended up, what happened to Thad.
Sad.
So sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of have the feeling that maybe things could, it's not like everything's just fine at the end of that book, but you kind of are left thinking, oh, well, maybe. But yeah, I thought that was really creepy for me. And keeping with the Dark Half things, love when Alan yells out at the end, "The sparrows are flying again, Mr. Gaunt."
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I thought that was
fucking
so cool.
There's also another mention to with the Dark Half where you go into kind of just the stuff that it's actually stuck with Alan too. There was a section.
Well, he has a couple of dreams.
Yeah. There's one that was in I want to say word processor. I got to find it for a second, but it's because it wasn't in the section that I just pulled up. But
well, he mentions Thad again on 237 of Pocketbooks. He says, and maybe a man named Thad Beaumont was an unindicted co-conspirator in the deaths of his wife and son, but Alan could not find blame in his heart for Thad either. So it's interesting how it continues to haunt him in that way.
Yeah,
I still find it very frustrating that he finds it hard to believe that there's anything supernatural happening in the town when he has directly dealt with a case that, correct me if I'm wrong, he comes to believe that there is a supernatural explanation for Thad Beaumont's doppelganger.
It is a little strange. I also think, and we kind of talked about this last time, I think that's why Gaunt is so apt to keep him out of his business for as long as he does, because he knows he'll be onto him, quicker than everybody else. But this is page 186 in my version of the book, the Viking version. He has a dream about the Black Toronado and the high-toned son of a bitch Stark, and Stark talks to him about how the shop is he calls it Innsville, which is a big thing in the Dark Half, and how everything at the shop is it's basically the end. It's everything you want and everything you don't want. I like that. Let's see. I think that's all I have for the Dark Half stuff.
This is cool.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's on page 204 when he really goes into the whole thing, what happened to Tad and everything. Is it Thad or Tad?
I think it's I said it was Thad.
All right, I just watched the movie again recently,
but it could easily be Tad.
Yeah, so it's interesting. That's Alan had become an unwilling witness to the crash of Thad's marriage and the steady erosion of the man's sanity, and there was the matter of his own sanity as well. Alan had read an article in some doctor's office about black holes, great celestial empty places that seem to be whirling of antimatter, voraciously sucking up everything within their reach. In the late summer and fall of 1989, the Beaumont affair had become Alan's own personal black hole. There were days when he found himself questioning the most elementary concepts of reality and wondering if any of it had actually happened. There were nights when he lay awake until dawn stay in the east, afraid to go to sleep, afraid the dream would come. A black tornado bearing down him. You mentioned the tornado. Okay, yeah. So like that. Yeah. All right. So that was the Stark thing. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And then right afterwards is like. There's more about like the sparrows coming up and stuff too, and how that kind of influenced the stuff that was. He kind of almost like wonders if like all the stuff with the Beaumont family influenced his own grief from his own family and stuff,
right.
Which is kind of. It's just cool that a lot of the breadcrumbs from that story really do enhance Pangborn in ways that he just wasn't as nuanced of a character in like the dark half of as he is here.
Right. Don't we think Slopey is related to Frank Dodd, right? His name is Slopey.
Yeah, why give him the last name?
We didn't really give. They don't really go into that, but you just kind of assume.
I've got one, page 260, pocketbooks. His carefully manicured nails cut into the flesh of his palms. He did not notice the blood when it began to flow. Many King characters do this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's also, I've literally tried to do it. It's like impossible. I have very long nails, but I cannot. Maybe I just have a very weak grip. But
I think of Harold,
Yeah.
But I swear, it's in like, I feel like every time we do this, I find one.
I mentioned the Christine one already.
That was a really good one, Mel. I did not catch that.
Car-wise, what kind of car does Leland Gaunt own?
A Tucker Talisman.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That's a little room 237 for you.
Yeah.
But I love that. Yeah.
There are a few 237s here that.
I've got a couple in a minute, but I've got legit King's Dominion, page 65. Nettie spent some time in Juniper Hill.
Yep.
I thought that was cool.
On the, we were talking about how they're expanding the stories of, previous stories. In this one, I really like how we actually are able to catch up with what happened to the Camber family. On page 618, they say, what had Mrs. Camber done when she and her boy had returned from their little trip to find that Joe, a world-class shit, according to everything Ace had heard, was dead and gone. Moved out of state, hadn't they? And the property? Maybe she'd wanted to turn it over in a hurry. In Castle Rock, one name stood above all the rest when it came to returning things over in a hurry. That name was Reginald Marion Pop Merrill. It's just like in that little digression with Ace, we actually find out what did happen to the family, like the Camber family, because we never really know. Like it ends without them even coming home yet. So it's kind of cool to get that wrap up a little bit. But
we mentioned all the body references.
So many.
But Ace Merrill remembering the events of the body.
Yeah. We touched on that, and we also touched on my room 237 a little bit, which is last episode, which is where Myra sees a single crow, perhaps the one which it called before. It flapped down to the top of a telephone pole directly across from the driveway and seemed to watch her. Definitely Randall Flagg.
I've got
absolutely Randall Flagg.
100%.
Just watching his buddy's work.
The crow is flagged. The gnome is gone.
Yes.
I've got three more. One was I mentioned this last episode, the white, the coming of the white that Gaunt screams is a reference to Wastelands. And then page 57, the gag can in Pangborn's car was still there, and it had been exactly 19 months.
Yeah. A lot of 19 in this one.
Brian wakes up from his dream, and it's 4 past midnight.
Had that one.
And then at the very end, page 685, they pick up Route 119 to leave the town.
Yep.
And
Okay.
And then all the men in the car. I know. I'm going to room 237 here. All the men in the car, when they're singing gospel songs, they're singing "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," which is what
Mother Abigail
sings in The Stand.
Well, speaking of Stand, they mentioned the Lincoln Tunnel too. So Stand is on the mind.
Are
we done with official King's Dominion, or do you have some more?
I got a bunch still.
Okay,
what is it?
What do you got?
I have on 167 when they're talking about Alan's other son. But your idea that he's staying away because he doesn't approve you or us, that's way off the beam.
Yeah.
I have another beam one too, but it's more of a stretch.
Well, and I mentioned this last time too, but the epilogue is set in Ames, I think Ames, or Junction City.
No.
Yeah, Ames, Iowa, which is the setting of The Library Policeman. So they say, that used to be Sam Peebles' office, real estate man, and a damn good one. Then he married Naomi Higgins from down the road in Proverbia, and off they went, just like young folks almost always do these days. So if we get a sad ending for The Dark Half, we get a happy ending for The Library Policeman, which is that they got married and they moved away from the town, which means they won't fall under the spell of Leland Gaunt since he's in that town.
That is good. That is a good thing.
So
there's some 237 I have here on page 50. There's inside Needful Things. There was a collection of lead soldiers in one of the cases, possibly antiques, which is Battleground. I'm thinking of the figures in there.
Is that Night Shift?
It's Night Shift. Yeah. Which is funny because they adapted it for Nightmares and Dreams, the TV show. But they do mention the gunslinger on 61. It says. It's ridiculous, but they're like the eyes of a gunslinger who surveys the interior of a saloon before pushing all the way through the batwing doors and starting to raise hell. I mean,
also just the idea that when they mention Leland Gaunt for the first time, they talk about his blazing blue eyes, which is very much like Roland from that world.
The pedophiles also face off like gunslingers.
Yeah. I've got page 167. Polly is talking Alan through the loss of his son and says, but your idea that he's staying away because he doesn't approve of you or us, that's way off the beam. So that's another little beam mention.
Mel already read that. You dumbass.
Wait, no, I thought you mentioned
this.
I thought that was a different one.
No,
that's exactly what you meant.
Exact line.
Well, here's another one.
All right, well, I'm just reiterating that was a really good beam comment.
Believe women.
Believe women.
Oh, God.
On page 521. Then he saw it was one of the Hanlon twins.
I caught that too. Yeah,
interesting. Mike Hanlon.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I got a room 237 here. When Sean sees Pangborn in the hospital. He asks him, "Are you the boogeyman?"
Yeah, Bozeman.
You know what though? I actually love that line. He says, "It says, are you the boogeyman?" And then he says, "No, honey." And then he said and thought, "I think maybe the boogeyman is in my hometown tonight." And
that's very
such a
Dr.
movie,
Loomis.
such a movie line.
Oh,
yeah,
totally.
Yeah. I mean, he thinks it. I wish he said it out loud.
Yeah,
but.
I hear
To the child.
Yeah, exactly. As he's walking away to the camera.
Here's some room 237 on page 182. Mr. Gaunt had offered to wrap her purchase for her, but Miss Ratcliffe refused, saying she wanted to hold it. Looking at her as she went out the door, you would have been hard to tell if her feet were on the floor or drifting just above it. Salem's Lot?
My favorite part of Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
My favorite room 237, and I'm so happy to say that it has returned once again.
Uh-oh.
The beginning of this chapter says, Ace Merrill and Full Dark return to Castle Rock together.
Full Dark.
Full Dark, no stars, y'all. Full Dark has returned.
I've got one I can't believe we mentioned yet. This takes place in Castle Rock, which is the name of a Hulu show that is also Stephen King adjacent.
Oh, well, also, I think Ace Merrill is reference to a character on that show, Castle Rock.
Yeah, they shared literally no qualities, but it's the character's name is Ace Merrill, yeah.
We talked about Aunt Evie, too. Like, she's in...
Yep.
Yeah,
she's in some stuff.
Yeah, that was a good one,
She's in Cujo, right?
Yeah.
Like, she dies at the beginning of
Cujo. She sits on the porch, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought the whole sequence, this is just 237, but like the whole sequence of like Clutterbuck and John and everyone running around in the office with like the papers going everywhere, I thought that was very Twin Peaks, like something that would be happening. And like and the fact that they claim that Norris.
Norris is kind of a Deputy Andy kind
thing.
of character. Yeah.
Did you all notice that the Child Welfare Office is at 666 Geary Street?
I think that's a mark of the beast.
I think that's the mark of the beast.
Or this is also King's Dominion of a different nature, but they're big Young Guns fans.
Oh yeah, and they want to see 2. They can't go see 2.
They want to see Young Guns 2.
Well, if it makes them feel better, 2 sucks.
It does kind of suck.
I kind of
feel
feel
like
like
in the second one though.
I kind of feel like there's a Lobstrosities out there with Young Guns out there.
We can do Young Guns for Lobstrosities.
Love Young Guns.
We still need to do a Casper Van Dien movie.
We do
for Lobstrosities.
People were demanding it in the survey.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll
get that.
I think that's it. I think we've exhausted King's Dominion.
There's so much in this book. I thought
this is King's Dominion, the book. Like,
isn't it kind of weird? And maybe it's just because it's such a personalized story, but like no real mention of Johnny Smith. And granted, it's not really Castle Rock based because it's based off on the towns surrounding Castle Rock.
Well,
and like,
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true because they mention Frank dad, but
yeah,
I guess
the real
I
Castle
think
Rock.
it is.
If you think about it, oh no, Johnny Smith, a lot of that stuff was
he
out there.
solved
yeah.
it. Like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
it was very
Bannerman
well
would
known
know.
that he was that, you know, like that.
Maybe the truth of Johnny Smith died with Bannerman. Because Bannerman does talk about Johnny Smith in Cujo in his thoughts.
Right.
Yeah,
So.
Pangborn don't know no Johnny Smith, and he don't give a shit. He's got magic to do.
Well, you know.
I think, speaking of magic, it's time for us to share our final thoughts.
Dad, can we go now?
You ready?
Yeah, we've been ready for an hour.
Okay, I'll be right there.
You said that a half hour ago. Yeah, my dad's weird. He gets like that when he's writing.
Our final magical thoughts.
They're always magical.
I think they are. So this is the part of the podcast where we share our final thoughts.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, come on. This is a big one. So
welcome to Final Thoughts.
Welcome to Final Thoughts. Does anybody want to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
Mine's pretty short and sweet. As we've seen with so many of King's novels that span almost 1,000 pages, he's really good at building out a town, building out great characters, and just making you feel like you're a part of that world. Hashtag The Little Mermaid. I definitely feel that with this book. In the end, though, as I mentioned in the misery section, with this being a disappointing ending, it's not disappointing in the sense that like it ruins the book, like I said before. And it's more like going on a great long trip, and you've been able to have some great memories with people that you've enjoyed and experienced and you haven't seen in a while. And then when you come home, the landing is a little rocky and you stay on the tarmac a little too long. And this a slight blemish on what was an otherwise fun and enjoyable and balmy journey. So for me, I gotta go with I'm gonna go with 4 bright red Pennywise clown noses
Nice.
for me.
Mac?
Yeah, you know, I really thoroughly enjoyed the book all the way through. I mean, we laugh and we joke about a lot of the pound cake and stuff like that, but I felt like it was such an easy read for me, and sometimes that's not the case with King. And I was just like raring to find out where this was going. I was invested in all the characters. He does such a great job of building out the town. Yeah, I was really entertained, and of course as a King fan, especially at this point, and the idea that this is technically not, but was the last Castle Rock novel, I didn't mind that it went to the lengths that it did at the end. It didn't land for me as well as I wanted it to, but I didn't mind it. I was like, okay, this being the last of the Castle Rock books merits an over the top, like a larger than life ending. I just didn't think that it was executed quite correctly. But I did really enjoy the book for the most part. So I'm gonna have to give it as well for bright red Pennywise clown noises.
Mel?
I feel like I'm gonna be received as a bit of a killjoy here. I just didn't have a great time with it. I also think the ending didn't particularly bother me because it felt in keeping quality wise with like the rest of the book. I thought that like there was just not enough decisiveness with its themes. Like I think we had a great discussion about the themes on the last episode that was probably super charitable, and like us pulling things from this book that weren't necessarily connected in ways that we were making them connected. I think that King was really indecisive about what he wanted Gaunt's power range to be, what he wanted the townspeople to really represent with their weaknesses, and how much of their personal agencies are actually involved with their downfalls. I think the book became really repetitive. Like you just know everyone's going to keep going in and buying items, and to me, like learning what everyone bought wasn't enough differentiation to keep me super interested. I was very interested in Alan and Polly. I think they were the best part of the book for me, and I really liked their relationship, and I liked Alan as a character, but even he was, as I've said, like very perfect in a way that took me out of his characterization. I think Polly was probably the best part of the book for me. And I think Gaunt never really progressed into unique non-cliche villainhood in the way that other King villains have. Certainly we are seeing King's masterful handle on how to display a small town here and how to handle a really large cast of characters. But that inconsistency that we've been talking about of wavering between trashy satire and Brian like killing himself in a way that is supposed to be incredibly dark and serious. I think that inconsistency is woven through the entire novel, and I think it's really long. Like I definitely did flag in the middle of it.
Randall flag?
I Randall flagged in the middle of it. So I'm gonna, it's a big downgrade. I'm gonna give it 2 bright red.
Whoa.
Hey,
we got
Hey,
Gerber
man, it's
on
really
Tommyknockers over here.
You know what?
Again, I like Tommyknockers more. I enjoy Tommyknockers more than reading this novel.
Holy shit!
That's
a hot take.
I'm a bit of a Tommy head, but I
Where were
I don't
you
know,
on
that's
the
a hot-
episode?
On Tommyknockers?
I'm not saying Tommyknockers is a better book, but I'm saying I enjoyed it way more.
I'm just kidding. I'm not.
No, I can't. I don't even remember. I don't think I was on some of the Tommy stuff. I think it was only on the miniseries.
When you say you're a Tommy head, would you say would that label apply to the Who's Tommy?
It would, and I'm also a Tommy boy.
Oh, he's finally come around.
All right. I think to balance out Mel, I actually agree with a lot, if not most, of what Mel is saying about this book. I think for me, Needful Things marks, I don't know, it's not like a clear transition, but there is a transition here where King's work began to... I feel like it's hard to like paint a wide brush, but there are certain King books that feel like B movies, right?
Yeah.
Like they feel like his schlockier movies. And I feel like this book is one of them. And I feel like in terms of writing quality, in terms of character depth, in terms of, the depth and the breadth of the villain, this book doesn't stack up against something like Salem's Lot, or Pet Sematary. But for me, this book satisfies me in every conceivable way that I would want. It represents in so much of what I love about King, which is a love story I can get behind, which is, sometimes rare for King, but when he does them good, he does them good. A great ensemble, which is huge for me, and great villains. Like, yeah, Gaunt might not be the most fleshed out of King's big bads, but I like him enough, and I think that Buster and Ace are really fun, chewy, nasty villains, and I love them. And I love the history that comes baked in with Ace. I love the history that comes baked in with the whole town. I love the way that it references the breadth of King's work. There's a lot of fan service in this book, but in ways that I really love. But I also love how pulpy it is. I love the violence. I love the seedy nature of it all. And I also find it very surprising. I remember being shocked when I read this book when I was young. And I'm sure maybe some of nostalgia is kind of covering my love for this book, but for me, I find this to be one of the most fun, most satisfying, most guilty. It's not a guilty pleasure, but it sometimes feels like one. There's a trashiness to this book that I find very appealing, but also at the same time, I find myself so deeply invested in the characters and in the nastiness of it all. So I don't know. This is I'm gonna go bold, and this is a 4.5.
Nice.
Bright red Pennywise.
Holy moly.
Bright red Pennywise clown noses. 4.5. I think I've only given that elsewhere to Pet Sematary.
Not the Stand?
Maybe Salem's Lot. No, Stand I think I gave 3.5.
Wow.
Yeah, because I found myself less enthused about the Stand on this most recent reread. This book, though, still holds up for me. I think it's a riot. But the thing is, I really don't disagree with anything Mel said. But
I cannot believe you are putting this book on par with Pet Sematary.
I guess for me, it's it satisfies in different ways.
Well, it's a quintessential Stephen King book. If you really are thinking of okay, what is Stephen King like? If you read this, this is literally it encapsulates all his qualities.
It's true. All of our categories were really full.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of Poundcake. There's a lot of...
Another word for quintessential is archetypal. I don't think he's doing
anything
above his,
I'd say that he's recycling a few tricks here, but there's maybe
that's the point
maybe
too,
that's the
though.
thing is there's a comfort to this book for me. I love the journey that I'm on here, and I love the familiarity of the world, and maybe even some of the the archetypal King things. I think it's a balance to me of high King and low King. There's like I said, there's a trashiness here and there's a sloppiness here that I think is in some ways, at least for me, forgiven by sort of the manic energy and the brazenness of this whole thing.
Yeah.
I kind of love that it can have those broad, weird, satirical elements, but then it can also like really shatter me with the whole Brian storyline. It's like I said, it's sloppy, but I love the journey of it.
Yeah.
It's like it's a book that checks a lot of boxes for me in terms of King. It's enjoyable, but it also does resonate for me on many different levels. And I don't love the ending, but I also find it like it's imaginative and it's vividly written. And Leland Gaunt turns into a little dwarf.
I was gonna say you were really confused by the ending because you thought that Gaunt was a dwarf.
Wait, say that again?
I said you were really confused by the ending because you thought that Gaunt was a dwarf.
Well, I'm not confused because that's what happens. So he is a little dwarf who rides a carriage.
To Randall's point,
he fills the carriage with all of his items.
To Randall's point, I do agree with you a lot, Mel. But I think the thing is, for me, it's my noses come from an enjoyment factor. More so than like, is this eloquently written? You know what I mean? Like, there's some King books that I don't think are like the best written books, but like I just have a blast reading it, and I really personally enjoyed it because there are a lot of things that Mel was pointing out that we definitely talked about last episode, just the inconsistencies of the theme and stuff that I do agree with, but. I had to.
I mean, I give my noises based on enjoyment too. I don't respond well to fan service.
Sure.
I will say I think the fan service in this is done in a way that's far more elegant than what most fan service today is.
Right.
And that's why I appreciate it.
Like fan service can be
it's in service to the story.
I genuinely feel like it's in service to the story, and it also draws upon his work to spin, I don't know, a larger quilt of the entire Castle Rock. Like,
it's a playground, and he's having fun on the playground. Like that's how I always saw it. And like I do, there's definitely elements where you're just like, okay, that's kind of fun to just revisit, but not really. Like I don't really think it's too gluttonous. Like I think I usually am so like averse to that type of shit, and I can't stand it. And especially nowadays, and especially you've heard us talk about this on the Castle Rock episodes. Like that is so insane. Like that type of fan service drives me nuts. But like. Like when you're like going to the Canberra Ranch and there's like a point to it, and like there's a real inventiveness.
And you get a cooch cam.
You get some cooch cam. You get Ace Merrill back.
I like the cooch cam.
Yeah,
cooch cam is great. But
I guess for me, I'd best describe this as like a popcorn book.
Yeah.
Whereas
totally.
I wouldn't say that about Salem's Lot or Pet Sematary, which are probably my two other favorite Kings. This to me, it's a popcorn book. I love the cinematic nature of it, and I think it just kind of it satisfies maybe the bloodthirsty little teenager I was when I first read it, and I really wanted less philosophy and more guts, and I think this book still satisfies that urge in me in a weird way. And I think that I don't know, I find this I don't know. It's like I have such a fondness for this book. And a lot of that probably has to do with nostalgia, but I stand by my rating, 4.5 noses.
I think that brings it to like a 3.7 or something like that for all of us.
Yeah, probably around there. Yeah. And so the thing is, like, obviously when we're weighing grades, it's like, but it's like, I guess for me, it's like giving a movie like, I'm trying to think of like a highfalutin film that came out recently.
Moonlight,
like giving Moonlight, like say 3.5 stars, but then giving Spider-Man Homecoming 3.5 stars. Like
two different movies.
Yeah, they're two different movies, and in terms of what they're trying to do, I think it's like, it satisfies on that sense. So I think that's like where I'm looking at it. But I don't know. It's hard for me to give it anything lower considering my affection for it. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So any other final thoughts on Needful Things? This has been a fun ride.
I'm really looking forward to watching the movie.
Yeah, we're going to be back next.
I kind of want to watch the movie now.
Yeah, Mel. You are welcome to be on the episode.
Let's bring the Needful Crew back.
Yeah, the Needful Crew. That's who we are from now on.
Yeah. I've watched the theatrical cut, and now I'm going to watch the TV 3 or 4 hour cut that Constant Listener gave us.
Oh my god, yeah, you keep reminding me it's so long. Ed Harris sounds great.
He's great.
I feel like in the extended cut, the Beetlejuice demon shows up playing Gaunt. But that's cut from the theatrical version.
If you ever end up interviewing King, you're going to be like, what's in the carriage? Because we know Leland Gaunt is outside.
I literally would ask him that, and he would just be like, interview's over. So,
wow, that's not a question I want to answer.
I'm going to take this off now, and I'm just going to walk out the door.
Well, we'll be back next week with our review of the movie, the theatrical and the extended cut. So it's going to be a lot. We
got a lot of Needful Things.
We're going to quote a lot of Ed Harris, and this has been fun, guys. follow us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Fresh content. We love the fresh content.
We love the fresh content.
And we're always posting. So please visit us there. And I think it's time to say long days and pleasant nights. Bye, y'all.
I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you know you want somebody to treat you good.
Consequence Podcast Network.